Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Yap of Us episode 6, discussing The Last of Us episode 5. Feel right? It is 5. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
5.
No.
All right, just making sure.
We're in the home stretch.
Yeah, feel her love. That's it's what keeps being one off, but it'll be way off once we do discussion after the show in the next season. So that's why I'm not changing the thing to be like an episode 0 or something. I talked about a little bit about this last night, but yeah, that's why it's only one off. But hello, as always, I'm the Zoo Boy Michael, and I'm joined with Austin, Tangy Fungus.
Tangy.
We got
Hey there,
Tyler,
guys.
Dr. Forgon.
Dr. Fork out checking in.
There we go. Second Tyler 2, T-Mac.
What up? Happy to be here. I can't believe this is already episode 5. Only 2 more. Crazy.
Yep. And for the first time starting in a few weeks, we got Jacob.
Sorry about that. Good to be back, though, guys. Can't wait to discuss the episode.
All good, bro. Say hi in the chat. We got Cook. What up, Cook? We got Phil. What up, Phil? And we got Joshua. Nice to see Joshua. I don't think he was here last week. Unless I'm going crazy.
It's
But
been a long week, bro. Who knows?
yeah. As usual, I'll start with thumbs up, thumbs down in the middle for what we thought of this episode. So, ready, guys?
Everyone will be happy. Oh,
All right.
T-Mac.
I know. I feel like I keep being in the middle.
All right, you're out.
It's a slight thumbs up.
Yeah, that's like a slight. That's like a slight dub.
Not a full thumbs up.
All good. So let's just get right into it. The first episode starts with a cold open. So I know Austin's happy about that because Austin loves those cold opens.
Stealing my thunder. Absolutely. I feel like I'm becoming a parody of myself at this point. And I cold open, no characters we know. I'm like, oh boy, of course I love this.
And you know what? Actually, before we discuss the cold open, we might want to discuss a little bit of news. Because while not confirmed, I don't know if all of you guys have heard, but it looks like Last of Us Season 3 is not filming till spring of 2026.
Yep.
So,
2027 release date.
yeah, that's
the earliest.
that kind of sucks.
Lame.
We're getting
That's
old,
stretch.
boys.
That's
We're getting really old.
That's so lame.
This,
That's how these things make me feel when they're like 2027. I'm like, oh my god, I'll be like
Am I
almost
even going to be
33.
around by then?
Yeah.
yeah,
It's gonna come out
Scary.
first. GTA 6 or Last of Us Season 3. We'll see.
Neither.
Exactly.
I feel if they're gonna do that, they have to finish the story in this. It can't be 2 more seasons. Like it needs to be a longer, more than 7 episodes. If they're gonna do the full thing, because we've talked about it on the show before, Craig, and it's not speculation. It's his speculation. It's not my speculation. He said that what he thinks, there are 2 options. The first option is to have another shorter season and then another shorter season after that to wrap up the story, or to have one longer season. He said maybe slightly longer than season 1 to wrap up the whole story. I hope they go that route, because if it's 2 years between seasons, that means we really won't see the end of this story till almost 2030, which is insane.
Crazy.
I'm just feeling like they
Yeah.
have to do 10 episodes for the next season.
Right.
At like the minimum. Like
10
you
to
got to
12
do
at
10.
least.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
just
sure.
in general, I'm over these short seasons for
Me too.
shows on streaming. It's
Me
fucking
too.
streaming. You don't have time constraints. What are we doing?
Yep. Yep.
I imagine it's just because all of these shows are very expensive to produce.
Yeah, but like,
And they're not doing that much at once.
HBO is adapting a pre-established IP.
Right.
I hate to call Last of Us an IP, but there's a built-in fan base that will guarantee that this will make some of the money back. they will bring in, new people. It's HBO. They have money.
Yeah, they're not. This is
a Warner company, and David Zaslav's at the top of that, so you never know what they're doing. So,
right.
$2 billion, bro. Come on, man.
We will see. I love that Andor is a lot of episodes, so
that's what pisses me off.
And it's very good too. Obviously, we love it.
I'm like so sad that it's ending. I'm like, damn,
I know.
dude.
Tonight,
I want a little more, but
so fast. 12 episodes, so fast. But
yeah. Tomorrow's going to be a great day for me. The day before ICCCon, I probably am not going to get much sleep because of I got to get up so early, like 4 a.m. to drive down. But tomorrow night should be watching both the Andor finale and Sinners. So tomorrow will be a good day for me.
Oh,
double
boy.
Be a great
bro.
day.
Double peak.
Yeah, you're about to see some good shit.
Yeah. Unless Andor finale is shit.
You might spoil yourself on all viewing for a while. Back to back like that. So you might like ruin your expectations for like movies and TV.
Yeah.
And also
tonight, after this ends, I'm doing the triple feature of Andor finale, Rogue One, and then A New Hope.
Oh, you're doing it. Damn, cool. You'll be up for a while.
I mean, I am anyways.
Yeah, that's true. And I've been watching Peak because this past week I watched most of Sean Baker's filmography. So that was very good. Sean Baker is excellent. Highly recommend anyone who
one of the most important filmmakers working right now.
Absolutely.
Okay. Nice.
Very, very good. But before we get into the episode, I just want to answer Phil's question. I think that if Neil wants to make another game, he should, and if he doesn't, he shouldn't, because I was very apprehensive about episode 3, or sorry, season. I cannot speak about the second game, and then it was great. It was fantastic. It was even better. So if he wants to make it, I'm on board. If he thinks that it's good where it is, I'm cool with that too. Although personally, I believe the third game is already being worked on.
I don't know what else they could do based off how it ends, so I guess we'll see. But hey, if it's as good as the second one, all for it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Like, second one was a shocking, just incredible experience. I'm ready for another one of those. Bring it on. That's probably why they're pushing the season 3 back, so that way they can release the 2 at the same time. Some brain synergy.
Mean, if 26 has Last of Us Part 3 in between, I'm down. I'm down.
I'd be crazy. But all right. So going back to the cold open, unless I'm mistaken, and I went back to check and I didn't see anything, it is intentionally left ambiguous as to when this takes place. When I first watched it, I assumed that it was modern day. But like the same time as the rest of the show. But we don't really know. And then there are things later in the episode that makes me think that it's not modern day, that it happened actually years prior. So it's left ambiguous. I was curious as to what you guys thought, if you guys figured it took place at a different time, or so have you.
Definitely. I don't think the specifics of when it happens is like overly like important, like it means like some secret message or something, but it is clearly like, because they have the dialogue where they say, oh, back in 2003, and it's like, okay, that implies that was a while ago. But then, like you said, there is like a bit of dialogue there at the end that implies like, okay, Nora addresses the spores.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have like a nickname for what's in the air, that means at least some sort of rhetoric is being had about what's going on down there. So, and they imply in the cold open that they want to keep it under wraps. So clearly some time is taking place between the two scenes, or the cold open and then where we're at in day 2 of Seattle. But I love that scene. It was awesome, but I'll pass it off to whoever wants to go next about when it takes place. Or
yeah, I was thinking like at least a year before, So I don't know how fast things would progress to what we eventually see at the end of the episode. So I don't think it was like a couple months, but I couldn't imagine it being any more than a year, maybe before where we are, just to kind of keep that 03 was distant, like distantly far away kind of a thing. So
I was thinking a couple years, but at least a year. Like
at least a year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's sort of implied with the way that they're like it was in the air or whatever. It's very implied that like if you just follow the dialogue of like, oh, the outbreaks, it's been a thing for a while and they've never seen this, and it's so clearly it's probably not like 5-6 years ago, but maybe a handful of years ago. But I wasn't even really thinking about that as much as like these cold opens are just awesome.
Oh.
They're for as many like little kind of critiques I have of the show and things that I love, things that I don't like, they pretty much nail these every single time because they do so much world building and they really set the tone of the episode or they set up things that are kind of to come, talking about the basement and everything down there. I'm like, this is just really good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, the last two, going to kind of piggyback off of what T-Mac said, the last two cold opens specifically were just so memorable. And I would say it's probably been a couple of years. I was thinking actually it had been maybe like 5 years or so, just because of what we see later on in the episode, that it to me, it looked like some time had passed. So yeah, probably like 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, that's basically what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But it seems like we're all on the same thing, that it happened a while back. It wasn't just happening right there. So,
and that's a good point that Austin brings up about like the names and stuff for it too. Like you wouldn't just develop a name for what's going on,
right.
2-3
like
months
overnight.
Yeah, it's going to take some time before that gets into your vernacular. So,
right. So we again see the character of Hanrahan, played by Alana Ubach. And this time, she clearly is a high-ranking member of the WLF. Last time we see her was the previous cold open, where she's, making a handshake deal with Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
Isaac's betraying the Fedra. And now, just like Isaac, clearly she's a big, important part of the WLF.
And what an incredible just performance with the little screen time that she has.
Mm-hmm.
There's just such a horrified intensity behind her eyes that just completely sells. Just a little, I don't even remember if she said anything in the Isaac scene. Or yeah, she just like clarifies that it's Isaac. Are you Isaac?
Yeah.
There's such a no nonsense grit to the way that she delivers her lines and her physicality, just in like her posture and the way she talks. Excellent. Just commands the scene, dude. I'm so thrown. Why are these cold opens so damn good? I'm scared. I know what they're talking about. I played the game, but like I can imagine as like a show only person, they're like, what is going to happen?
I think they're good because they're original. They're not really as tied to the source material. They can be very. I mean, clearly, like Craig is good at what he does, but they can kind of sit down and just really plan around this one scene and not plan around things that the game have done. It's just completely original ideas that are just related to the story that we know. So it just allows a lot of creative freedom, I feel.
It's funny because last night, Austin, myself, and Justin from Out of the Basement were talking in a private call, talking about The Last of Us, and Justin making a joke, but I see his point. He was saying that all of us game players, he said, anytime that they change the color of a leaf, that we get very upset. And he said that that doesn't apply for him.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like, you grow up your whole life and you watch movies or you watch a TV show where it's based off a book or something. And you always have the book people that are like, that's different. And you kind of just roll your eyes. But now it's like, where
we have become.
Where are those people? And it's like, God damn it. And that's why like I keep, as I watch the show and I think about things that I like and don't like, I'm like, I got to just chill out because I'm becoming those annoying people. Like, totally.
See, I don't know why. I've always been very good at that. It's why, I like Zack Snyder's take on Superman, even though it's so far away from what I would want Superman to be.
Right.
And even if I am optimistic for James Gunn's take, but even if I don't like that, or it's just not what I would do, I could still find enjoyment in it, because for me, nothing ever touches the other thing. So this show can be dog shit, and it wouldn't matter to me really, because it doesn't affect the game.
Yeah.
I've seen people where, especially with Star Wars, where, you know, they say, well, this ruins the entire franchise for me. And I don't understand. If you don't like The Last Jedi, how that affects Empire Strikes Back, I don't really know. It doesn't have anything to do with it.
I think it's harder with things like something like Star Wars. I think that's an overdramatic take for someone to say something like that, but also in the same vein, it's like, okay, I can understand it. All the movies are connected. All the movies are canon. If it really upsets you what they do to a character, I can somewhat get it. It's dramatic, but I can get it. But with something like The Last of Us game really is its own thing, and the show is its own thing. They're totally separated, so it's a little different. But yeah, I completely get what you mean.
Yeah, that's a good point for sure.
Counterpoint: they should just leave it alone and make things good.
No,
I'm kidding. Somewhat kidding.
Well, this episode is a good half and half, where I feel like maybe a lot of us will be very angry about the first half, and the second half will be like, the Polynesian spa. We'll all be very happy after that. But to continue with the cold open, I'm sorry, I unfortunately don't know the character's name or the actor's name, but the woman who is talking to Hanrahan, she says that B1 is empty. She says that B2, there are spores on there, as the introduction to spores in The Last of Us TV show. So, of course, we'll talk about that in a minute, and the impact of all of that. But then she says that B3, we don't know. And they don't know. But we know, because we played the game. And that is very interesting, and I'm not going to... Obviously, we're not going to talk about that, but that was very nice as a little tease. Yeah, a little tease for future stuff.
A little treat for us real fans.
Yeah, exactly. A little treat for us real fans.
But I love that how they retroactively added spores into this.
I know.
Yes,
it didn't feel like it was forced in. It just kind of.
I was worried it would.
It felt very smartly done, because you could think oh well, why weren't these here before? But it's like, oh well, it's, I don't know. They did it very smartly.
Yes.
Yeah.
For things we know about the hospital just told in the show, but then also stuff that we know from the game and future stuff to come, we see the hospital is just ground zero almost. You know, there's a lot of patients in there, of course, that right at the beginning of this. So I totally buy that there's something unique that would allow this to evolve and change to something that's not in.
Yeah, I mean, just as it makes sense, right? Like, we got the introduction of stalkers this season, and that's just they're implying that, over time, this fungus, this infection, it's going to mutate. It's going to adapt to become more aggressive to spread. I think the spores being kind of an off branch of that, there are going to be these areas where it was left alone.
It's why
it's like twisted evolution.
You're right.
You know,
it's why
I was just going to say,
go ahead.
When we get to that point in the episode, god damn, did it look beautiful.
It looked good.
Yeah,
god
man.
Damn, did it look beautiful.
It really did.
For sure. I think it's interesting as well that the reason why spores were not introduced in the first season is because, for one, the actors would constantly have to wear masks.
Pedro's too fucking hot.
I mean,
bingo.
And then, as well, something that Craig Mazin and even Neil Druckmann, obviously the creator of the game, has talked about consistently in interviews, podcasts, stuff like that, is that they feel the pressure to make things far more realistic in a television medium than a game medium. And we see that with a few things in this episode specifically that was changed. And I understand it. I don't really know if it's necessary because I feel like people do can suspend disbelief, but I also feel like then there are some people that are like, no, this is so stupid. It wouldn't really happen like that. So I'm sure there's a balancing act. Of course, they have to because as we've seen in the premiere with the dance scene, and then now in this episode with other scenes, there are songs that are not out at this time. And they don't give a fuck. And I'm glad because I don't want them to give a fuck. But of course there's a balancing act and a give and take. But to finish out before we go, because we'll get back into spoilers later in the episode. But to finish out the cold open, when Hanrahan walks out and she says, "I'm sorry about your son," I was like, oh man. Because I did not expect that Leon was that woman's son. The way she was talking, clearly it was someone close to her. I was thinking maybe boyfriend, husband, something like that. But son, she sealed her own son in, like, and he told her to do it. So what she did was choose the many over the one, even though it was a child. Very unlike a beloved character that we know. So I really liked that
yeah, that's what's I jumping ahead a little bit or foreshadowing. That's what's frustrating is because the dialogue in this is so nuanced. It's so good. And you don't pick up that she's talking about her son till the very end until they reveal that, and then the scene ends, and it's just that one last little twist of the knife, Just excellent,
for sure.
Just and like you said, how emotionally draining this world is that we're
right,
in,
And Dina, I know we've talked about a little bit in the pre-show, but we have little criticisms about that scene, and we'll get to it. But it is like how Dina says in a future scene that everybody has a fucked up past. Everyone has lost someone, right? Yeah. Even in the first season, Ellie says to Joel that, I've lost people too. And, if you're this far into the apocalypse, 25 years, everybody has issues. So it's, which is why Gail's job is so important, of course.
Where's she
another episode?
Where's she
another episode without Gail,
Based Gail.
Yeah.
Shit, what was I gonna say? What's up, Doug? Yeah, damn it, I forgot what I was gonna say, you guys. Forget it.
All good.
It'll come back to you.
Yeah, let us know. But then we have Cold Open's over. We have Seattle Day 2. And very interesting that they chose to name Day 1 the name of the episode, and then this is not Day 2. I almost feel like
it would ride out. Yeah.
I almost feel like I wish they didn't do Day 1 as the name of that episode now. Wish it was something else. That's just my OCD-ish type brain, though.
Yeah.
So but it's whatever. It's,
the final episode's Day 3.
Yeah, no,
that'll
piss me
this
off.
One should have been
like John
Love
Wick 1,
on Day 2.
2, John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum.
Yeah. Oh my God, no. Fucking no. But I enjoyed parts of this scene and parts of the scene I didn't like, and we'll probably go around it a bit because, like last week's episode, I only have 7 scenes written down for this whole episode, but a lot of the scenes like this whole theater scene I consider to be one scene, but really it's like 3 mini scenes in one. But we'll just loop it together. And then, of course, a lot of the scenes in the later half of the episode are pretty long and action heavy. So it just, makes sense that as we go on through the show, there's not as much setup. Of course, that's the way, a television show works. So it would make sense that the amount of scenes are fewer even if the time is not. But when we get to Seattle Day 2, we see that Dina is triangulating, using triangles, as Ellie says. And I enjoy that this, and my mom pointed this out, that this is continuing to show Dina's tactical, strategic side. Some would argue maybe at the expense of Ellie. So I'm definitely interested to hear what you guys think about that. I don't, at least in this scene, I don't feel that yet because they have different strengths and different weaknesses. And I think it gives Dina more stuff to do. And I don't think it's at the expense of Ellie yet, as of this scene. So I was fine with that. And we'll go to the guitar scene, of course, in a second. But to go back after the guitar scene, when Ellie and Dina are talking about what to do with the radio and how they know all this, I felt that scene was so jarring to me. It felt like Dina might as well have been talking straight to the camera. That was very, very exposition heavy. I feel like probably the audience would have understood why Dina knows this. I don't think she needed to say. That just felt very off to me. Especially the way Dina was saying it. It was like she was explaining every little detail. And I felt
it was like trying to skirt people on the internet that nitpick criticisms, but in only from coming from a negative place. Oh, how do they know this? Oh, why aren't they telling us how they know this?
Yeah, it's when people want too much. When people want too much logic and explanation for things that don't really need it.
Yeah. Dina might as well have went, hey, let me show you how exactly we know this.
Right.
Welcome back to my channel where I explain.
This felt like a anti-cinema sins,
Yeah.
I
know that's just satire, but the people who watch them take it seriously.
It's just weird, especially for a show that does, and story in general that has a lot of nuance where they don't really over-explain things. It just feels very out of place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And that was, I said this last episode that there are scenes that feel a little exposition heavy. There's a scene later in this episode that feels exposition heavy. But this scene was the one that stuck out to me the most, and I feel like it actively bothered me. I was like, that just seems poor and unnecessary. That's honestly my biggest flaw with the episode was this specific scene. And it's a shame because I do like the dialogue that Ellie and Dina are having in this scene. I just don't like when interwoven with that, it's Dina talking to the camera, essentially. So could have done without that.
Yeah, I wrote down Dina is really underlined several times smart. Because she's
I love that.
Just telling us how the Seraphites work. She's like, oh, this is how they work. They have bows and arrows. They're like the Amish. They don't use technology because the WLF, they're talking on the radio. They're telling me a lot because they know nobody's listening. And I wish I was paraphrasing because that's just verbatim what she's saying.
She could have just looked at the camera and be like, "You ever heard of the Amish?" You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It literally was some MCU type fourth wall.
Yeah, maybe this would have been better in She-Hulk. I think not in.
There would have been funny though.
Yeah. But I
just want to give props to Isabella Merced on camera.
Oh, I'm down for you to do that, bro.
I could not deliver that dialogue half as good as she does. I know that she was reading that script oh my god. Is this a first draft, Craig? I wonder actually how much of this was impacted by the writer's strike. If
from what I hear, writing on the show actually didn't start till after.
Okay.
So probably not much.
I thought I'd throw him a bone there, but
I'll just say every episode that goes, I'm like, damn, what happened to the writing? What happened to the writing? What happened to the writing?
Ouch. Knives.
A little bit.
And it's a shame because
There's
like I said,
great.
there are a lot of parts in every episode that I like a lot, and then we're just constantly bashed over the head by stuff like this. And it's like, what happened to the writing?
See,
What happened?
for me, it's not even really the writing. It's of the dialogue. It's just the story choice. It's sort of like when we go back to episode 2, right? It's like, what was the thing that some of us didn't like? It's like, we don't like that Abby talked a lot and straight up said who she was. You know, it's revealed to you right away. And it's sort of like,
Did you know
when
her
they're
dad was the doctor?
it's like, right. It's like
How many
when
more
they're
times are they gonna tell us?
when they're doing these scenes where it's original in the sense that it's things moved around, it's like the dialogue falls into being over explainy. And for me, this is another reason I liked the episode, but I just kind of like how I disagree with revealing who Abby is so early. I just kind of disagree with Dina being so involved, because what's happening is, because she's involved, you have to take away from Ellie, you know, her figuring out the movements of the people. So it's like, oh, we're going to pluck that from Ellie, like that trait, and then give it to Dina, and then make that be the dialogue. And I'm kind of just like, I just don't think you needed to do it, especially not to jump ahead, but she gets an arrow to the leg, so she's going to be sidelined anyway. It just
Right.
feels like, so you're not really making her more involved anyway, so why do it? I don't know. I don't really like it. I don't
want to like escalate the rage here, you know, but it's like, it's really frustrating that within like this theater scene, they have a scene with Ellie with no dialogue, and it's so powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
And it shows me that a stoic nonverbal lead really can work, because
Absolutely.
it's the performance from Bella that really sells this scene, the choking on the lyrics, you know, and it's so less is more. I don't even think there was like any ambient music. The sound design was really great because it's so silent. You're really just, I felt like I was not supposed to be watching this, you know. I'm peering into a very private moment with a character that is very tortured right now. And then we jump out of that back into what I was just talking about with what we're all talking about with the Dina scene. And it's like flip flop, you know.
Yeah. It's like, it's The Last of Us. It's just like Star Wars. We might not all enjoy The Rise of Skywalker, but we love Star Wars. So it's the same, but it's just The Last of Us. And I'm wondering if, and I'm so interested to know, maybe Zuboy can answer this because you watch it with your family who aren't game players, if we're just like, I'm just wondering from a show person only perspective, like what are they thinking? Like, well, you know, because we know the story, we know what happens. So, yeah, interesting.
So, what specifically are you talking about for a show only person?
I'm just wondering, like some of the things that we've all brought up here in the last couple minutes, like what they think about, like the whole Dina thing or the exposition and stuff like that. If they think it's too much, or if they think it's a fine balance.
Okay, so my family, we all thought the same thing about this scene, that it was very exposition heavy. But my mom really likes how Dina is prepared and strategic and tactical, and Ellie is not. She really likes that dynamic between the two characters. But my dad and my brother are getting increasingly frustrated with how Ellie and Dina are acting. But I'm trying to be like, hold on, guys. You should. They don't know what they're doing, which is why other characters like Jesse and Tommy are added to the story eventually. That's the point. I'm like, it's not bad writing. It's, you should feel this way. Because in the game, I don't know about you guys, but there are plenty of times where I'm like, what is Ellie doing? What is Dina doing? And then when other people get there, like Jesse and Tommy, I'm like, okay. And then obviously, you know, we can talk about it now because it was said in the episode, Tommy appears in Seattle before in the game. Yeah. But you just see how Tommy acts and how Jesse acts, and it's smarter.
It's like surgical.
Right. It's smarter than how Ellie and Dina act, for sure.
No, I gotta say, you mentioned this a little earlier, Zoo, but yeah, I think I disagree. I do think this episode or this specific scene definitely made Ellie seem a lot dumber than what
That's
she
what
really
T-Map
is.
was saying too.
Yeah, and
I
not
don't
just
even know that dumb is the word for it.
no,
just
it's
like,
not.
I think they're trying to get across this point of like, she's not really thinking the way that she should because she's just had this really happy night with this one person. But it just, I'm not saying Ellie can't have those moments. They have sweet moments in the game. It just feels like it's a little too much and gets the story a little too off track for a season that's only 7 episodes.
Yes.
See, this is interesting, Tyler, because I actually take it the opposite way. So this will lead right into the guitar part of this scene, so we could talk about that. But real quick, I just want to say what's up to Psycho. But I take it as this is a lie. As Gail says, Ellie's a liar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that this is Ellie, being so happy, and that's why she's like this. I actually think it's the opposite. And I think that this is shown in the guitar scene, because when Dina is away, just like how in the episode where Ellie starts crying into Joel's jacket, Dina shows up and Ellie's quickly wiping the tears from her eyes.
Right.
She loves Dina. That is made clear in this episode if it wasn't already known. But doesn't 100% let her entire guard down and let her mask fall. So I think this whole thing... Oh, what's up, Ronnie? Ronnie was on... whose stream was that? That was Dante's Toy stream.
What up?
And said he was going to check this out. So what's up, bro? But I think that when you see Ellie enter the musical portion of the theater, and it's cool. It's a Sick Habit, which, like in the game, if anyone knows, that's Neil Druckmann's comic book that he was writing before Last of Us, called Sick Habit, and then he put that into the game as the name of this band. So that was cool. I like that they brought that in. Must be fun for Neil. But when you see Ellie play the beginning of Future Days, and it's very small. It's just If I Ever Were to Lose You. That's it. That's all she plays. She doesn't play, the whole song. And I know, Tyler, you said you listened to the podcast, so I don't know if you got to that part. I don't remember where it was, but Neil and Craig talk about how much they were going to use.
Yeah.
If they were going to play the full song or portion. They didn't even play the full line because, if you know the song, the next line is, I'd surely lose myself. They didn't even do that. They just played the beginning. And just like Austin said, Ellie, just the cracking in her voice. And then you just see in her face, and Bella's performance is so good here, that just for a bit, the facade that Ellie puts on, her mask falls, and you see she's vulnerable, she's angry, she's broken, and she has PTSD. She's just not complete. As the song says, very ham-fisted, if I were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself. That's why the song is so important. Obviously, there's other lyrics, other reasons it's important. Probably going to see that next week. But that it is so important to the story, and that's where we've all said, we don't care. Please put it in the show. We're, of course, all very glad that they did. But I think that this is the start of what we continue to see later in the episode, and I'm sure we'll see in the finale, and maybe even next week, because I don't think next week will be all flashbacks, just mostly, personally. But I think it's just a little bit to see, okay, she's not okay. And this isn't the happy-go-lucky rom-com adventure that some people have been put off by. That's something that Ellie is using to distract herself. There's also a thing where, I don't know if anyone here or knows anybody or has themselves struggled with depression. I have not, but I have many family members who have. And the way they describe it to me is it's always there, but you still have your happy moments, but it's still there. So I see people saying, and it's just, I don't really agree with that, where people say, why is she having fun when she should be tracking down Joel's killers? And She should have a one-track mind, but that's not really how a human being acts. You know,
I think for me at least, it feels like it's a little late in the game for us to just now be starting to
right, especially because there's only
the mask is coming off. Because I get what
that's
you're
what
saying.
I'm trying to say. It's in the back of my head. I know there's only 2 episodes left, and I know the majority of what the next episode is going to be. So when she's on the stage with the guitar and she does that, and then the moment at the end of the episode, it's like, wow, this is really pulling me into what I want the tone to be, because it's what it should be. But then I'm like, but there's not a lot of time left.
It's almost too little, too
You
late.
literally
That's
basically
the
only
thing,
have
like-
like an hour left of like this
Right.
Ellie versus
Right.
the-
It seems like there's been
30
too
hours.
much setup and like getting there. And
I
then
will
now
say-
here we are, and maybe another episode or two it would, if there was like maybe 3 episodes left or 4 episodes left, then it wouldn't feel as bad. Because
Right, it's almost-
now it just seems like it's going to get rushed, like how I felt last week. Her and Dina jumped right into Pound Town way too quick, and now same with this. Like, it's
yeah,
just
they
quick, bro.
skipped another step of the relationship this week too.
I just think it's too quick, and I said before, I think it's too little, too late. I guess for this season to get to the Ellie that we want. At least for
I
me.
will say, you know, like you've said, too little, too late. I definitely understand that, but I will say that even though, of course, we've all played the game, we know where the story is going, we don't know 100% how they're doing the rest of the story.
Yeah.
And
neither do they.
True.
Apparently not.
I'm being very careful because I don't want to like give any hints and things that's going down, but it is quite possible that the Ellie that we want to see, it's like this season is building up to that, and then we see it at the end. Maybe we'll see more of that going into season 3.
I could live with that. But then again, I think what was it, 2 episodes ago or last episode ago? I don't know when it was. I mentioned how, at least for me, I had all these preconceived notions on how this season should go, and it just hasn't. So maybe that's also lending into my kind of just meh on a lot of it.
Yeah,
for
maybe
me,
in 2027, when we all do this again and we rewatch this season, we might feel a lot more positively about this. You know,
Yeah.
it's just I know this 2-year wait is coming, and it's like we're just now getting to the part that I wanted to see. You know,
right? Yeah,
This was my I don't mean to cut you off, Zoo, but
you're good.
I know we can move on. But like the Ellie that we're all waiting to see is like, that's the Ellie, bro. Like that.
where's
is
my
the
little
Ellie.
monster?
That's what I want, and it just. I've been waiting all this time, as we all have, for this season to come out, and we thought we were gonna get that. And you know, I mean, there's still 2 episodes left, and maybe they can make up a lot of ground. I don't know. We don't.
But also, then I'm being a little pessimistic. I've been burned by streaming before, where like the finale is like 20 fucking minutes long. I don't think they'll do that, but it's all this. 7 episodes. I was.
You mean 6 episodes
10.
that are 45 minutes each? Like, okay, thank you, man. This is what I wanted.
I think that for me personally, there's 2 things that I really care about regarding this whole situation. The first is that I wanted Ellie to get to this point. I could see the argument that it's not enough and it's too late in the game for this. But because the show or this story, however many seasons, is not over, I don't really like to judge it like that. And so I'm just happy. Like, this is the Ellie I wanted to see, so I'm good. It's happening. It happened.
I said at the beginning, I really love this episode. I feel like I've been super negative, but I'm just kind of echoing.
Well, this is the first half. We get to the second half. I know you'll be glazed.
Dr. Forgon, I'm echoing a lot of what you're saying. It's like I like where Ellie is at the end of this episode. It's just disheartening that it's.
I do.
So late in the game.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Austin. You're great. It's same way, but I don't know. Then again, I feel like we might get a little robbed at the end of the episode as well. You know,
Oh yeah. Okay.
I felt like we got a little robbed there. And I was like, okay,
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we got there, but then we didn't get there, you know? So
if you're talking about what I think you're talking about, again call me Zoostradamus.
Maybe there's more. Maybe there's
call me Zoostradamus, bro. It's that scene is too important. I've said this many times before. That scene is too important
because what comes after will make no sense if we don't get, you know.
Patience. That's the way I say it. I've been right a couple times.
Hey, you have been right, and you know,
yeah,
I'm going to start checking the lottery with you, bro.
I just think that these scenes that are so important, there's no way that they wouldn't have. And like I said, it's happened twice already. So
you're right.
I think that it just makes sense for something like that. But the other thing for me is, I think we could all agree here, again, without spoiling, that Jacob, I actually don't know your opinion on this. I know the rest of us talked about this. Maybe you talked about this and I'm just an idiot. I don't remember. I'm sorry. But I know for the rest of us, we like the second half of the game more than the first half. First half is great, but the second half is even better. Would you agree with that, Jacob?
100%.
Okay. So with that being the case, I can understand why we're itching to get to that. But at the same time,
this is the buttery corn on the cob, but the second half is the mashed potatoes, the green beans, the steak. You know, it's the cornbread.
Yes. And
this is good. There's some good shit coming, man.
Hurry up and wait, bro. Hurry up.
I've always been pretty equal on both halves of the game, to be honest.
Okay. Okay.
It's weird. It's like I like things about the second half more, and then I like some things in the first half more. It just goes to show how good the fucking game is. I mean, really, like I love the whole game, so it's hard.
Also, that's crazy, Psycho. But I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about us on stream. So any answers?
Who is this Psycho guy?
He sounds pretty psychotic.
Yeah.
But yeah,
before we move.
Oh yeah,
sorry. But one thing I really liked about the scene, that was the sound design. After she strums those few chords, you can just hear that deep rumbling sound of her anger building, and it did feel like it built to something when we get towards the end of the episode. So
do you know what's funny?
That part was perfect, bro.
If you listen to the podcast, Craig talks about that exactly, and he said that was unintentional.
What?
And he said that it was a sound from the other room where they were doing some bass stuff, and then when he was like, "What the fuck? That's amazing," and then he went in that room to record that and then put it there. So it's like when they were first going,
they were editing something in a different room, basically, and that's what that noise was. And so they just they just added it to there because, like when Craig went to go watch the scene, he was like, "Wow, that was brilliant," and the guy was like, "Oh, I didn't do that. That was from the other room." And he was like, "What?" And then they just I guess edited it to make it sound a little bit better and just used it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Damn.
Happy
accident. It works. Yeah, happy accident. Exactly. Works perfect.
One side note that I did mention here to my dad as we were watching, I was like, I'm glad that that they opened the door in there and found the entire orchestra of instruments, because I was wondering how they were going to get a guitar since they didn't bring the guitar with them.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that when she sees all of them. I was like, oh my gosh, she needs to go up and smell each one. And
I was like, at least they have the guitar now, since they couldn't carry the nice pristine
the other one.
Psycho's comment is like a knife in my chest right now. What the fuck?
That's tough. That's tough.
Block this guy. Block this.
Yeah, get him out of here, bro.
That's surprising because he loves the game, right? Doesn't Psycho?
Yes. Yeah.
That's why, because usually when you hear people, when you hear people have a critique like that, it's usually like, yeah, I just didn't really like it by the end. So that's a little shocking.
Yeah. Interesting. Maybe Psycho's just a fucking idiot. But no, it's all good. It's all good. But
damn, that's crazy.
That is. I've never seen that take before, but I respect it.
I loved everything about the guitar scene. I loved her walking in and like looking up at the mosaic or whatever you want to call it, like on the ceiling, and how it's so pristine it still was, how untouched by like the cruelty of this world. It was just beautiful. And then to have such a haunting tone throughout the whole thing was just a fun like juxtaposition, because then she climbs up to the stage and there's the way the stage was filmed from like you're overlooking it, and the perfect spotlight on the stool.
They also didn't build that set. That's a real theater that just happens to look
Yeah.
exactly like the one in the game.
Wow.
Just
And I
crazy.
think
They built the
Wow.
lobby and all that, but
Okay.
that part of the theater was a
That's
real
still incredible.
yeah.
I think like in our prediction episode, I was talking about like I can't wait to see some of these iconic set pieces. And
Oh,
boy,
I've
did
been loving-
Boy, did they deliver with the
Yeah,
theater? What
they-
was
Dude,
said.
last episode and then
Boy, did
the
they
end of
deliver.
this episode, I'm like, I've
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah, they delivered
I-
on the set pieces.
This is why when I see people who say, people say it about Neil, which is fucking insane to me because he loves Last of Us more than anybody. But I hate the criticisms when people say Craig clearly doesn't know The Last of Us or like it or understand it. Or same thing with Neil. And like I said, it's even more ridiculous for Neil, but you can see that he does care. And then he said something recently where how the carpet in the lobby is the exact same as the carpet in the lobby in the game. And he said nobody really cares, but why would he change that? Because it's
But I
perfect
do.
in the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and you can see like that's
That's
only
a crazy
something-
sentiment that he doesn't care.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No. He's saying that he's saying who would.
No, I'm
Like-
saying people thinking that he doesn't.
Oh,
care. That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
crazy.
No, it's
that's
clear that he does.
right, and you could obviously argue about choices that he made if they work or not, whatever. But to say that he's not a fan or he doesn't care, which if I'm being honest, I don't
I
really
mean,
think you need
look-
to be a fan anyway. Look at Tony Gilroy, but I'm just saying.
You don't need to
That's
do
always people.
I don't believe Tony Gilroy is not a fan of Star Wars.
that. He is
I
now.
on this hill. He gaslit
when-
the entire
Well,
community.
to be fair, that whole thing has it has elevated to like he doesn't even like Star. It's not that. It's just
yeah.
He
Yeah,
hates
like, when you
Star
look at-
It
Wars.
was a
Right, when you-
paycheck.
yes. When you
People-
look at the
He earned
just-
his paycheck. He hates
right,
what
it's
he
not
does.
that. It's just that he's not. He's not a Dave Filoni fan essentially.
Right.
I'm really happy
It's
you brought that up,
refreshing.
Zoo. I'm really happy you brought that up because that's always something when people are trying to critique something or like a creator doing something and they're like, oh, he clearly just doesn't get it or he just doesn't like it. It's like, no, it's like that's always the biggest thing with, not to bring it up, Last Jedi. People are like, oh, Rian Johnson fucking hates Star Wars. It's like, no, he loves Star Wars as much as all of us. He just views it in a very different way and wanted to do something very different. Doesn't make his love of the franchise any less than your own just because you don't like something that he did. It's preposterous. Like,
Right.
it's just it's people trying to rationalize, like give them meaning in their own heads of like why they don't like something.
It's like
It's-
I
it's
don't
silly.
like Episode 9, but J.J. Abrams clearly loves Star Wars. He
Bro,
turned
you watch
down
Force
the
Awakens, that man fucking loves Star Wars. Like,
yeah.
I just think
Absolutely.
he hated where they were going by the end of it when he was like, "Oh God, I got to do another movie." I thought it was done.
I have to get another blank check.
He's like, "Ah."
off topic, but we've talked about this privately. I think a lot of those decisions weren't really his to make. I think he kind of just agreed to do a lot of the things that he did
Yeah.
in that film.
Yeah, I think he just wanted to wash his hands, bro. He's like, I'm done. I want out of this.
He was
more.
complicit, but I very much don't think that's his movie.
I
I've
can't
always thought that.
wait. I can't wait when Last of Us is over. Maybe one day we'll have a nice sequel trilogy talk on here, and the viewership will go even further down. And
You
then
bring up
honestly,
the Last
we'll go higher.
Jedi. That's
Unsubscribe
it.
from
We'll
my
go
channel.
higher from hate comments.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. That's what we'll do. Well, I'll have to do a really. I'll do a really clickbaity title like sequel trilogy better than the OT? Question mark.
Oh my
Question mark?
Something like that. We'll see.
Bro, I would love to talk. I would love to talk the sequels. I would.
Oh yeah, bro.
hell yeah.
I definitely that's a a thing for another time, but I definitely have enjoyed doing this, of course, with you guys. So I'd love to talk about other
That's been a
things
blast.
as well when this is over.
All right, great
But-
show, guys. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, but,
Good
but
night,
anyway,
Yeah, we're just at the beginning still.
yeah. But to finish my point before we move on to the next scene, I think that the reason, again, I'm with you guys. I love the second half of the game even more than the first. But I think for me, the thing, and now it's not a spoiler because we see why the show is doing it, how it's sidelining Dina. Dina is not in the second half of the game very much, and I really love Dina as a character. Like, I'm not talking about Isabella Merced here. I'm not talking about the show's version. I'm just talking about game Dina right now. I love game Dina. She's amazing. And I think Show Dina has just elevated that and given her more to do and more screen time. So I am loving that. So it's why I don't feel like I'm, come on, let's go. I know when you were playing,
admit that maybe you're a little biased because you love the character a lot.
Sure.
I really
I'm sure I am. Yeah.
Agree with what T-Mac was saying earlier. It's almost like they're doing too much, and it's kneecapping Ellie a little bit.
But the thing is that I love Ellie as well.
Oh yeah, I know.
So it's like if I felt that I wouldn't want them to heighten Dina by doing Ellie a disservice. So again, I'll have some stuff to say about this later. But for right now, I just didn't agree that I don't think they're doing Ellie a disservice right now, and it's mainly because of what came after. With
you're saying like specifically in this
with the guitar, right? That's what I'm saying. Okay. So I also want to say that I know you said you were playing the game recently, and I talked about, unfortunately, it's a shame, and it's not in the show, but I think they're not going to bring it back. But there's a point in the show where there's a bookstore with all sorts of LGBT like just bunch of books about lesbians essentially, and great scenes between Dina and Ellie, and I missed it in the game. I walked past it when I played this recent time, and that bugged me when I was like, where the fuck is this bookstore? I remember, I want to go. And then I realized it was before the school, which is not in the game, or not in the show, not after. And I was so pissed that I missed it. I almost restarted, but I was like, I'm 5 hours into the game. But I really liked the beginning of the game. I like the whole game. That's why it's my favorite game of all time. But I was talking to Austin about this. Austin was like, before Seattle, he just wants to get that part over with. and while I understand, I don't feel that way. I like, I'm never rushing through.
I want to get to the second half.
Yeah, I get it. But for me, I'm never wanting to rush anything because I don't
rush it, but
no, it's
I'm just excited.
Right. Yes.
Well, when you've played it a few times.
Bro's making it sound like I'm like Mario, like speedrunning, like hopping over like shit. Like,
no. Bro, when I play KOTOR, I speedrun Terrace like a motherfucker.
Nah, bro, I love Terrace.
Nah, you gotta get off that shithole, bro.
Nah.
You gotta Malik's gotta blast that planet, bro.
That's crazy.
Is it bad that I like speedrunning the games?
No, I mean that's
a very popular thing. I mean, people love speedrunning,
So much fun.
I don't do that for Last of Us though, because I like to take my time and loot. In Uncharted, I definitely do that.
Oh, you're one of those sick fucks who looted the house while Joel was
That's crazy.
Down there begging for his life.
I did.
Like, yeah,
I did. I played the game like 2 months ago, and no lie, you just hear like and I'm like walking around. Like, this is crazy.
This is so stupid. What can I find? In
yeah, bro's like, hold on. Is there a bottle in here? A bandage? Yeah. Hold on, Joel. I'll get there.
I love when I was replaying it for the show, just so I can keep up with the episode and what's going on. When we were like in the first couple episodes or whatever, and we're in like the little mini mart, and Dina hands Ellie like the nastiest like stack of like rags you've ever seen. She's like, here's some bandages, bandage up. I'm like, bro, I'm about to get an infection. I might be immune from the cordyceps, but Staph is gonna get me like a bitch.
Fucking hell. All right. Well, after almost an hour of talking about one scene, we can go into the second scene of the show. Not counting the cold open, of course. This might be a long episode.
A whole another hour on.
But this, I mean, we might, because this is the walk and talk scene. And I know you guys probably have a lot to say.
Before we get to it, I do want to quickly add that little bit of positivity into the Feel Her Love graffiti on the wall.
Yes, that's what
happens before.
Right, that's how I'm starting the. Okay, I consider it part of the same scene because they're still like this whole thing. But yeah, so they come across the Feel Her Love mural. Looked great right out of the game. Looking at it the way that it's portrayed in the show, I do understand why some people thought from the trailers that Alana Ubach's character was going to be playing the Prophet. Obviously, she's not. But I could see like the resemblance a bit. I'm of the belief that we will see the Prophet's backstory probably next season. That's what I think they'll probably
I kind of
do.
hope we don't.
Really?
It's like I'm like I get why people have like an issue with like metachlorians, right? I don't mind them, but like it's kind of the same thing where it's like I kind of like the infighting of the Seraphites about the Prophet. You know, was she a divine being? Was she a real person? I kind of like the not knowing part of that a little bit.
I would argue we do know, though, because we see documents in game from the WLF side, not the Seraphite side. And in those WLF documents, it's basically seen that she's essentially just a rebel faction.
Well, she has to be like
martyr,
a real person, you know?
Right.
This is the real world, but that is a specific like less is more thing for me. Like,
okay,
I kind of like characters talking about her. I don't want to see her. So if they do that, I'm out.
See, I'm not gonna
lie.
But
then again, it could be a cold open. It could be like the coolest.
That's what it'll be.
You know,
honestly,
it probably will be a cold open.
I think that's how they would do it. It wouldn't be like I don't think we're gonna get like a whole Prophet episode or something. No. I think it would be like Isaac, where it would be like a cold open. So see, then you're gonna have to go. You don't want to see that, but you want to see the cold opens. You're gonna be at war with yourself,
and it'll be like
what can I do?
Like a cold open, like towards the end of her, whatever. So
right, and I also want to say I do want to see the Prophet, and Austin's wrong. So
all right, I'm out.
No, but
bro, you can't take out my only ally I have here.
But yeah, we're just
hater.
Yeah, Austin, he's just all right. This is a good show. Fuck, I hate when I do that. It messes up everybody. Look at that. Literally every single person went in the wrong position.
Yeah. So says, this is where all my friends go.
Tier list.
Yes.
That's crazy. That's crazy. No, but of course, after there's the feel her love, rather, then you see there's a little I guess more graffiti, I guess you would call it, just as Austin said, feel this bitch.
Yeah.
And
couldn't be more clever. Come on.
I don't know for sure. I didn't see it yet, but unless I'm having a Mandela effect, I feel like this is from the game. But I wasn't willing to bet.
I think it is like
I feel like they did do something.
There's something like towards the end of Hillcrest or something, right? Where they see like the field. Yeah.
Unfortunately, because of how the game's flashbacks are structured, last season I played the game right after what I saw in the episode. Unfortunately, I didn't play this week because we know the where I'm at, which is before the hospital, before the Seraphite Forest, before the stalkers. We get a flashback that looks like it's going to be the beginning of next episode, and I didn't want to play that until after I saw it in the show to do a strict comparison. So that's why I'm a little fuzzy on this part yet, but I'm pretty sure it is from the game. And it's interesting to see because, again, you see that in the midst of Ellie trying to get her revenge, there's an entire war going on, and it keeps showing that, and people are dying. Lots of people are dying.
They're showing and not telling.
Unlike what they're about to do. But then what I find very interesting is I did not pick up on this because it is high on my list, but I have not watched it yet. Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann said the way that the bodies were structured there is based off a movie called Come and See, which if anyone doesn't know, that is a highly, highly regarded film, known as one of the best war films of all time. I have not seen it personally. I know it's excellent. There you go. I knew it. I knew you would, bro. There you go.
Oh, that movie. I've heard it's great.
Yes, I've heard an incredible
thing to show people. that are interested in it, at least.
Yes.
It's
like
not
I said,
the party type movie.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sure from what I've heard, but
Bro,
it
turn
is
it on
very
for the
high.
party, man.
Next year at ICC, the boys are watching Come and See.
Yeah, there we go. But I definitely plan to watch that sooner rather than later. Maybe now that I finish, I'm almost done with Sean Baker. I'll go to that. But I thought that was really a really cool reference to a really well known amongst film lovers film that's highly regarded, and just seeing how the Seraphites and the WLF treat each other. And we see this with the scene with Isaac. They don't really view them as humans. Both sides. They don't really care about the other side emotionally at all. We see in the no, it wasn't the cold open. It was the second scene with Isaac when he's torturing the Seraphite. We see again. What was his name? Burton. Whatever his name was.
Buster. Was it Buster?
Yeah.
No, it was Burton.
It was Burton.
Burton,
Yeah.
On it,
okay.
Yeah. So we see Burton. He just says "fucking animal." Clearly doesn't care about them as people. And then in this episode, jumping ahead just a little bit, we see how that Seraphite says, and now he is free. Just not even caring that he just disemboweled, murdered a person. It's just like, no, this is what we do. They are wolves. We are Seraphites, and the WLF, like we're the WLF, they're scars. So there is no compromise here, and I've always liked how this conflict mirrors Ellie and Abby, because both of them could kind of see it from the other person's side, but they don't. And understandably so, because Abby's father and Joel were obviously incredibly important to Abby and Ellie. So it just makes sense that, they would just put on the blinders and, go for revenge. But I did like this part. I don't know I think Austin had a little bit more to say about this, so I won't get into the Dean and Ellie part yet. But if you guys have anything else to say about this feel her love, feel this bitch thing, go ahead.
Whoever wants to go. Somebody else can go first this time.
Yeah, just the brutality, kind of like what Zooboy was saying, was pretty eye opening, and they just don't even really, I think, know why they're fighting. Right? We saw that in the last episode. Isaac was kind of arguing with the Scar. Well, you broke the truce. No, you broke the truce. So, and I did remember what I was going to say earlier. I loved how in the cold open, the lady, and I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but she was like, oh, like, I thought Isaac was going to come down and execute me, just showing and reminding us how badass Isaac is. And I just want more Jeffrey Wright. He's so good.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
So, if so far it looks like, well, they're both pretty brutal, but so far the WLFs, just absolutely have been slaughtering the Scars. And then, like you said, Zoo, we do get the disembowelment. So that is pretty nasty too. The whole time I was just like, Jesus, that's just horrible. And it was in the game as well too, but brutality, and they don't even know why they're doing it. It's just blind hatred, and it's just crazy because it mirrors other aspects of the real world that we live in. So
absolutely,
and it foreshadows brutality you're about to see also from Ellie as well. Kind of what you were saying before, Zoo, of the WLF and the Seraphites being against each other, very much symbolic of Ellie and Abby as well. It's all these worlds combining in like just constant brutality in this horrible version of Seattle.
For sure.
Go for it, Austin.
I guess the last thing I was gonna say. So I think I criticized in episode 3. We got to see it was the opening with the Seraphite, folks just walk in,
and
I was in the between, okay, well, I get that we can establish this for TV and and introduce people to a new faction before we're actually introduced to them. I understand that for television that's probably important, but I also miss what if this was our first introduction to them,
Right.
this graffiti, but also with seeing just glimpses of them here and there, like what we saw at the radio station. I'm warmed up to having been introduced to them so early. So that way it's
Okay.
now us as the audience through Ellie's eyes, we're starting to get a grasp of we are small potatoes in the grand scope of what is happening here.
Right.
Seeing all the bodies piled up, seeing the graffiti, this, something beyond our quest for revenge is happening right now. So that's cool. I really loved seeing that. I love world building. And so that was just a really awesome touch in this episode.
For sure.
Now let's get to the Dina dump.
Yeah, not much to add, but world building. And that's always
Yes.
always great. So
Absolutely. All right, so now everyone else is gonna shit on Dina, so but no,
my favorite time of the episode.
Bro.
That's crazy. I just want to say I did like her backstory.
Sure.
Maybe not 100% how it was delivered, but I do like her backstory. And I will say, although the game or the show is more ham-fisted and then it goes on even after she tells the story about a little bit more, and that is really the problem, I think. It's really not how she tells the story, it's after the fact. But in the game, Dina, it's not, you know what, I'll keep it a little vague just in case they do a flip version of this later on. But Dina and Ellie stumble upon something, and it's very brutal. And Dina says that if she had the person that killed her family in her sights, that she would do worse than what was seen. And I always thought that was kind of crazy, because I don't see Dina like that. And in the show, I kind of feel the same way. I don't think Dina's telling the truth there, neither in the game nor the show. And it's never really clarified in the game, and I don't expect it to be in the show. But the way I view Dina as a character, and I think this is proven a little bit through later aspects in the game, although it's, of course, never actually clarified, but based on things that happen with Dina and actions she takes and stuff like that, I don't think Dina would, as she says, because I wrote it down, hunted him down forever. I don't think she would, actually. I think that this is Dina, and I don't think the show is writing her in a way that's conflicting with how I view her as well. At least that's not how I read the scene. How I read the scene is Dina is both telling Ellie what she thinks will help her, but also I don't think Dina is lying, as in, when I say I don't believe her, I don't mean that she's lying. I think that Dina believes in this moment that she would, but I think deep down Dina wouldn't. And this is something that it's funny, Austin and I have had a conversation a while ago about this, but I feel like a lot of times people will say things and they believe it. They believe themselves, but in actuality, that's not what's true. Mm-hmm. They've believed their own lie. And I think that that's how I view Dina, both in the game and in the show, because Dina doesn't strike me as someone who is so brutal like Ellie. So
you might have just softened me up to this whole scene, because there's a bit of dialogue at the very end that I wrote down that was interesting. All right, it's not even dialogue, it's a reaction to something that Ellie does. But we'll get to that. I made a little note of it, so we'll get to that later.
Interesting. Okay, I'm glad I'll stop you from ripping completely into her. But I'll just say what's up to Bobcat, and yeah,
What
I'll
up?
see you on Saturday for sure. But I think that the way the backstory was told, I really liked like how Dina is talking, where she's saying, everybody has a problem in this world. Everyone has a tragic backstory, kind of like how we just talked about earlier, and we see that she, is like, Ellie, you know how the story is going to go because I'm not in Santa Fe. I don't have a mom and sister. And I just like that back and forth. And Ellie's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Dina's like, it doesn't matter. But, I was fucking 8 years old. And I just like her tone and how she's speaking. It's just that after she tells that story, then she starts essentially turning to the camera and say, and this is why Joel didn't deserve to be beaten like that. And
here's your motivation, Ellie. And
right. And I get it, because I do think that Dina would say something like that to Ellie to help her through this. I just wish it was a little polished more, where it didn't feel talking to the camera. I don't, I'm not a professional writer. I don't really know how I would have done it, but
yeah, it's much easier to sit here and like critique it. I always try to keep that in the back of my mind, but you summed it up very perfectly. I like her story, and maybe if it was just the story, I would have been a little less like upset about it. It was just having it follow a scene where she did this, where the dialogue made her do the same thing that she's doing here, where she's
it's like twice in a short succession.
Yeah, to the audience, just like what the themes of the show are, what the mission is, what the motivations of the characters are. It really was grating at a point, and they aren't like short, like little monologues either. They go on for a little bit, and so
right.
it was
like
a little
minutes.
Yeah, it was a little bit to sit through, of like, oh my god, I know. I'm watching the show.
You have to trust your audience at some point. And every time they do this, specifically Dina does something like this, it's just like they don't trust the audience to get to where they're supposed to go. And it's just infuriating, because you don't get any of this in the game. Like, they trust you in the game that you're going to get there, and they make bold decisions in the game knowing you're going to get to where they want you. And HBO specifically has done this in other shows throughout their history. They don't handhold you. They don't beat you over the head. It's infuriating. Like, her story is great, and that is all it should have been. We all know that it's not, how Joel dying, it's how they did it. We know all this. He didn't deserve this. It's like, oh, we fucking get it. We
watched it happen.
How many more times? And it just seems like it's one of those things, at least to me now, it's like every episode we're going to be able to fucking count 1 to 3 times where they're going to break down the motivation of something else that we already know, just for the sake of making sure we understand it.
It's also,
I hate that shit. Just in every form of media, I hate it. We're not dumb. I mean, some people probably are, but like, come on, even they can figure it out. I think.
I know it's not Dina,
no,
but there's a point. No, I don't mean what you're saying. But later in the episode, there's a point where, again, it's brought up.
Again.
He was shot in the head. I'm like, yeah, bro.
We know.
Like, he was shot in the head. Joel
you
shot
showed
him
it to us.
Yes, and I really, that is something, I don't think I mentioned it in episode 2, or if I did, I don't remember. But I really don't like when a character says something, calling back, and then they show that clip. I'm like, you didn't, like, I don't like that they showed Joel shooting Abby's father.
They're communicating to the people who are on their phones.
Because we saw that last season, And if you didn't know somehow, you forgot. That's people forget things. Abby said it.
Watch
so
the
you didn't need to
recap.
show it again. So
Dude, it's a problem of these things just coming out week to week.
I know.
Like they probably feel the need that people forget things, unfortunately.
And the phone thing that you keep bringing up, Austin, that's just like a societal thing that just makes me sound like old man yelling at clouds.
Yeah.
You know what?
That's the thing. Like,
Fuck 'em.
fucking Severance spoiled us, bro. Like,
If they
it
aren't
was
paying
like the glimpse
attention,
into the darkness,
if they're not paying attention, fuck them. If they miss it, fuck them. Go back and watch it. They can go back. They can go back.
You literally, it's not live. You can rewind.
You can rewind. Oh man, I missed that. What happened? Rewind.
Wait, did Joel get brutally murdered in front of Ellie? When did that
Why
happen?
hasn't Joel been in this entire season outside of the first 2 episodes?
Well,
Is this a dream?
I'll say I wasn't going to bring it up to later, but since Austin just said, I have seen people say, because we do see Joel at the end of this episode, I've seen people say that maybe it's been a dream. And and I'm just like,
maybe they need some media literacy.
Tyler's just
Maybe you need some media literacy. Or
Bro,
maybe
if you think that, you might need to just go to sleep. You know,
I
don't know.
over.
You're right, bro.
Guys,
Media literacy is
The Last of Us for normies? Are we?
It's a show for brokies, bro.
yeah.
The funny thing is about Dina saying like he didn't deserve that. I really like the way that it's delivered and everything, but the problem that also arises is like, what if you're a viewer that genuinely is like, oh fuck Joel for what he did, and then you're watching that scene and you're like, don't preach to me. Like I think it's wrong what he did. You know what I mean? Like
several different ways of like just lame that it can be from several different methods, for lack of a better way to phrase it, man. And it would be okay if it was just a one-time thing. Like if we hadn't been beat over the head already, like this, it'd be fine.
It's worse because in the setup of like jumping ahead, I'm sorry, but it's the setup of the stalker scene, and Ellie has like a joke. She's like, "I love the Ellie like quip or whatever because it's very Ellie."
I hated that scene.
The haunted and the hallway looks haunted and empty, and Dina fucking says, "Oh, like us."
Oh my god!
Oh my! I literally,
See,
bro,
that's what I didn't
like,
really want to. I didn't really want to jump ahead, but the scene of her talking about Joel didn't really bother me as much as like when they see all the stalkers and they're kind of like planning before that, and she's like, don't just whip out your gun and shoot. And she's like, "You'll say I would do that," and you're like, "Yeah, all that you've done it several times." It reminds me of like. Those are my least. That's like my least favorite dialogue in movies or shows. It's almost like the, in Revenge of the Sith when he's like, when Obi-Wan's like, that one time on whatever, that doesn't count. It's like, well, we haven't seen that, so it's like, why are you even bringing it up? It's dumb dialogue.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
It's a similar thing with that where I'm like, you don't need to tell me that like Ellie shot her gun a bunch like in that delivery. It's just kind of goofy in like a very serious situation.
Maybe in the last episode they could have, set that up a little bit better at the radio station. Maybe Ellie could have been quick to like shoot someone.
Maybe the characters in this world realize that
Dina is the one. Dina's the one who shot someone last episode, and Ellie stabbed the guy.
Maybe they realize that sound attracts and can give away their location, so they already know this, and they do not need to be reminded.
This area that they're avoiding probably has infected in it. Why does Ellie
and they're
need to
sneaking
be
around, so
I'm
the
getting
WLF can't find them. Maybe they know they don't need to shoot their guns.
See, and this is the problem with not sidelining Dina. You're right. They're writing.
Bro, I'm sorry, I can't.
Dude.
I can't go with this.
No.
I can't.
Tyler too is spitting. Okay.
Again, it's not even like I hate it. It's just like these. It's like it's just like these little moments that don't really need to be there that they're pulling because they're choosing to keep her around, and it's just I don't know. It's just frustrating.
I will tell you.
But are they? We don't know.
I will tell you why though.
She's gonna patch up her leg next week and be like, "Let's go." She's gonna be in the fucking.
If she's out there with a bandage and crutches, I'm
out. No. I will tell you why I like it. But I don't want to jump ahead too much because there's a lot of it is stuff I wrote down for later. Yeah. So we'll get to it.
I don't mean to hate on your girl, but I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I do think though, it's it's interesting, and maybe that's why they do it, and they know that for someone like me who is a big fan of her character will connect with it and is able to excuse the other stuff, because it's like, again, that scene that you guys are complaining about, I have my issues with that as well. I write that down. But I also like parts of that scene because of the nice dialogue between Dina and Ellie. So it's like they interweave fun, nice dialogue between the two characters with exposition nonsense garbage.
Fun.
It's like a reverse Oreo. It's like a reverse Oreo, bro.
Yeah, bro. Just let us be miserable. We want to be miserable.
Yeah,
Season 1 I was depressed every week after season 1. Let me be depressed.
Let us sit in the emotional pain and torture and the gloom. We're in Seattle, for God's sakes. It rains.
Last of Us. This is not a fun piece of media.
No, I know what you guys want. And be very vague because of spoilers.
I want a different color of leaf, okay?
I want Ellie
want
to get in a Apache helicopter and circle the town until she murders everybody.
Yes.
No, what you guys want
Rainbow Ellie.
I want her with a bow and a knife and her just
Bro, where's the bow at?
headband.
Where's the bow at?
Yeah, where is the bow? We don't know.
True. Fuck.
You guys want there to be. You guys want there to be that moment in the game. Good. You want that to go another way. I know what you guys. That's the way you guys want.
Oh my
it.
goodness!
You sick fucks.
I want her to find the nuclear football and push the red button. And walk away.
No. Anyway,
sorry.
It's all good. The what I like how the scene closes off, and again, it's at the end of this scene that even I know you guys don't like it, and I don't like this. I don't like this part of the scene as well. I'm with you on this. I don't like that part of the scene as well. But when the end, I like what Dina says, because she says, "I'll go if you want, I'll stay if you want," or she says, "I'll go back if you want, and I'll keep going if you want. So what do you want to do?" And it's just keeps showing you that Dina is just this ride or die character.
Okay, I'm gonna jump ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt, but
It's
when
all good.
Jesse is introduced, it was so refreshing to have a character that came to conflict with our main character. I think that's been my issue with these Dina and Ellie episodes. Neither of these characters are challenging each other, and I think that has been robbing the momentum of the story. If Dina wasn't so on board and so just like a yes, let's do it, that maybe not in that kind of tone, but going with the grit character, if she had maybe some more resistance, it would be more interesting to watch.
Well, again, jumping ahead just a little bit, we start to see a tiny bit of that with Dina.
That's what I wrote down here when you were talking about the Dina's not telling the truth. So we'll get to that. So yeah. As much as I've clowned on the dialogue, I stand by that. But there's something in the back of my head about her now that you planted. So
okay, I'm glad.
But I still stand by.
She's an
exposition machine. She needs to. They need to do some editing, take some of that dialogue out of there, do something.
Bro, she might as well come out with a journal with everything wrote down and just point it to the camera. Like, here you
go. This is really what's going to happen this season.
Really, really quickly, this is completely off topic, but if any of y'all don't have the Mafex, the Batman that's getting reissued, it just went up on Hobby Genki. I just bought it.
Ooh,
nice.
I got it.
I'm not even engaged with the stream.
Bro hates The Last of Us.
No, I am, but I've been watching my phone like a hawk all day because it was supposed to go up at some point between yesterday and today. So I just saw it and I just bought it. So
it's a fantastic figure. I love that figure. It's
a great figure.
It's a good figure.
It's a good figure.
Yeah, but since we're just derailing the whole show now, Harpo, we all gave it a thumbs up except for T-Mac, who hates everything, and then Dr. Forgan gave it a tiny little.
I do not.
The smallest part of the episode. It was so alarming. I think to all of us.
Yes, and no, but you know what? I'm glad that
and then this back half is
Yes.
Chef's
So now
kiss.
I'm glad that we're about to end this part
I am too.
because I feel like a lot of people Psycho
I am too.
fucking hell. Psycho told me he watches us and he's like every Yap of Us episode is us criticizing the whole show, saying how much
Like,
we hate it. And then at the end we're like, no guys, we really, really like it though. And then now
Gotta
it's
give
gonna
that to
be-
Psycho, bro.
Because the thing is, it's still really cool to see everything brought to life, you know? And it's not even like even though I'm kind of in the middle with some of this stuff, it's not even that I don't like it. It's just the game is just so sacred. So when they make certain changes I disagree with, I just feel very defensive about it. But I'm still enjoying the show.
Right.
I had
Exactly.
this exact
I still think it's a
same-
very high quality show, you know?
Mhm.
I had this same conversation with my buddy. He just finished last week's episode, and he told me, I said this in the pre-show, I guess, that once Ellie and Dina, went straight at it after she said she was pregnant, he was like, that was the worst shit I've ever seen. He almost turned it off. He's like, I don't even want to watch this shit anymore. And, then he watched our stream, and he was like, I can't believe you said you liked the show. And it's like, I do like it. It's just there are issues with it because of how much I love the second game, and that's not going to change my opinion on it. So
and then even with
the long way around is
there's such
we
high
still like
highs,
it.
low lows, high highs.
It just maybe that's
I know
the
we'll
point.
have to do
Maybe that's the point.
when we're done, when season 2 is done, we're gonna have to rewatch the entire season 2 as one, and then we'll come back and we'll do it all over again, all Yap of Us episodes again for every episode again.
And then we'll be sitting there, bro. I don't know what we were fucking complaining about. This show is peak.
Yeah, and then you guys are gonna be like Zeustradamus. It's all good.
No, we're gonna go back, and I'm gonna notice like all this Dina shit in the first episode, and it's gonna
You're
make
gonna say,
me,
"Fuck
like
this."
more spiteful.
Yeah.
Like, bro, they told us in episode 1 Dina was gonna be a fucking,
No, we're gonna go
Dina's
back.
Down was like,
Fucking
I'm gonna be in
Scooby-Doo.
every episode and tell you how the episode's gonna go and how you're gonna feel about the episode.
We're gonna go back, and I'm gonna say, anyone else not really like Dina?
Oh god.
she is so unmagnetic.
Yeah,
She
Not
has
charming at
no
all.
gravitation,
no
pull.
charisma.
It's
no
magnetic,
gravitation.
but we're both North Poles.
She was bad in The Last of Us. She was bad in Superman. She was bad in Dora the Explorer.
No.
Nah, that's too far now, bro. That's too far. And I liked
She
her in
carried
Alien
Luke the Dora
Romulus too.
movie though.
Yeah. What's up, Stoned? We
What
are.
up,
What's
bro?
up, Stoned?
I'm about to
Oh,
fight
God.
all my co-hosts. This is it. This is the
talking
last
shit.
episode of the Yap of Us. I'm getting all new co-hosts next week.
Tired. We're all retired.
Yeah. No. But like I said,
I'll just never leave the studio.
yeah. There we go. Perfect.
I guess you could kick me.
what we'll do, because obviously we're doing this because we go scene by scene, but since, like I said, the latter half is what we really liked, this should be good because we'll leave the episode like, oh, that was good.
I feel it coming in my chest. I see the stalker scene coming up, and I'm like, we're almost there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the stalker scene, we can go right in because when they arrive at this warehouse, I was curious because I didn't know what they were going to do here.
Me neither. I thought it was gonna be Seraphites.
Yeah, I was like, what is this building? Like when Dina mentioned it earlier in the episode, I was what? And then I see office desks. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
fuck. I know what scene this is now.
My
And
dad
as
was
soon-
like, what big bad infected are we going to see here? And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. When
So
I
thought it was
see
a
those
misdirect.
desks.
I thought
Oh,
because
okay.
they were talking so much about infected, it was going to be like Seraphites or something. And so, yeah, as it went on, and you see that first one, I literally was like, "Oh!"
Right. When we
Yeah.
the desks for me is where I was like, oh shit. Like this is my I legitimately like sat up when I was sitting. I was like, if this moment is what
Bro
I think
put
it's
his
my
phone down
moment.
and was locked in.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's why
But-
Superboy likes Dina. So
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
He's
exactly.
watching
I'm
the
just
show
She brings him back.
Well, you know
It's
why?
like, oh,
it's
at
because
least I know what's happening. I love
it's
Dina.
because I like to watch The Last of Us, where I just look at a picture of Isabella Merced on my phone while Last of Us is going on. So I just always have it there. I can
Right.
just look over.
All right,
You are
bro.
not
that's
beating
what-
the
That's
out of
crazy.
with that one, man.
Bruh.
Fuck
That's
yeah.
crazy.
But again, it's crazy
well-
because I just said we're about to leave the negativity behind, but we got some a little bit more negativity
Yeah,
here.
just a little bit.
Get to it. But
Rip it off.
before the stalkers show up, there's this other scene, and I see people have been a little harsh on this, where they've said online that Dina is just showing that she's like the smartest person ever, and Ellie's a fucking dumbass. But I don't feel it's that. It's that like.
I don't know.
I don't think it's that wide of a gap, but it's
I think
clearly.
Ellie's got
I
some
mean,
redeeming.
she knew that Ellie was gonna start blasting.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't know that.
Anyway,
You
we're starting
shot
blast.
your gun like 30 times, and it's like, don't do this.
So
I
anyway,
literally-
I started blasting.
I out loud was like, I don't like this.
Yeah, it's
I don't
It's
like
just,
this.
it's showing that Dina is the brains and Ellie is the brawn, but it's really more complicated than that, because Dina does show that she has that physical, or not necessarily the physical strength, but like the ability to do what is necessary. You know, like Ra's al Ghul says to Batman and Batman Begins.
But
But
I never feel like Ellie
Wow.
is this ignorant in the game.
well, that's not. I think that for Ellie, it's not that she's an idiot. It's just that she, as shown later in the episode, she has a one-track mind when she's locked in. But like I said before, that she doesn't have a one-track mind, but it's only when she's locked in. She's like, okay, you know, I don't care about anything else. And it's not that she doesn't care about Dina, as we see in this very conversation, you know. And again, this is where like they get me, because it's like Dina, you know, when she says that she loves Ellie, and then Ellie's like, "You love me," and then I love, you know, she starts to, I really love, and Dina's like, "I know."
What do we know that they do?
I know we do.
it.
That's why I said I pointed that out earlier. I said I don't like. We already know that they love each other. It's not.
And so
but-
do they.
Yes, but I like the way that Dina. I like the way that Dina says it.
Also,
Yes,
it's kind of quick to be dropping the love word around. That's kind
Yeah,
of
bro.
crazy.
Couldn't be me. Couldn't be me.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
just
gonna.
thought-
I'm not
I
gonna
just
lie,
thought-
bro. I would disagree with that, Austin, because I think it all depends on the type of person. I will fully admit on stream, I've definitely
Bro,
said
Dina
I love
doesn't
you.
even know Ellie's favorite color.
I mean,
I've definitely said I love you earlier in a relationship than I probably should have. But that's me, if I'm being honest. So I definitely see Ellie being that type of person. And I see Dina not being as much of a type of person as Ellie, but that's why, you know, she doesn't say it like that. She just says it as already known. We also have to realize that there has been a lot of this that happens within the 5 years. And at least, I mean, again, I know there's different levels of love, but especially I feel like when you're that age, that when you've been crushing on a person for a long time, and then you finally are in a relationship with them,
It's gonna
you
move
do,
a little quick. Yeah.
you do feel love,
Sure.
you're not wrong.
or at least what you say.
I
and
just
then
feel
I-
like we've been robbed of much of that relationship.
Like
You know,
it's crazy. It's like I'm gonna sit here and say I want a gradual buildup of their relationship, but then we've got that, but I don't like what we've gotten.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
no.
I feel the same way. Like I wish it wasn't. It feels rushed, but also not at the same time.
Like the
And I
romance,
don't know why.
really enjoy like watching is way more subtle and like gradual than this. It's not just like these big gestures. I mean, I know that this moment wasn't like a big gesture or anything, but like the last episode, that was a pretty intense gesture. And I didn't feel like it was earned yet. I really enjoy like the awkward stages and in the game, because all of the really awkward kind of figuring each other out stuff happens before Joel dies, it feels so much more natural because there isn't like
100%.
life or death stakes going on.
Because
also,
they made
it's
that
so
patrol
interesting.
change, it kind of screwed with all of this.
Remember what I told you the last week? It's like apparently the patrol change was made to service this. Obviously, you don't like the way they did it, but
Yeah.
it seems like that's, or that they said, not even seems, they flat out said that's why. But for me, I think it's just real quick, Austin, I think it's very interesting that you guys are thinking that it's more, rushed because, and not developed enough, because in the game, I feel like I've seen lots of people, even people who liked the game. In fact, I usually see it from people who like the game, feel that Ellie and Dina's relationship felt like it went from 0 to 100, and then that was that.
But the
And then
difference
in the show,
game is it's like at the very beginning, and
right, it's
after,
before
like a 5-year thing, there you can imply that there's been a buildup, and this is just the climax of that buildup. Here we've seen the actual prologue to like the game with the dance. We've seen like the inciting incident of like Ellie's has a crush on this girl, and now they're about to get married in like 4 more days.
Right, yeah, they're planning their future.
And we had this 3-month time gap where I guess Dina went and visited her, but she also went back to Jesse at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm just a little lost.
I think that's the point of some of the conversations from last episode, where they talk about how both of them at some level love, like whatever, lust, whatever you want to call it, at some certain level, they had feelings for each other for a while now, both of them. And obviously they didn't say this in the show, but in the game there's a line where Dina, and Take On Me, where Dina says, you should have kissed me then. When I'm talking about earlier, or way earlier on, and Ellie says, I wanted to. And you see how, again, both of them are like that. But the funny thing is, I disagree with the people who criticize game Dina for that. But I also am disagreeing with the show thing. In both instances, I didn't feel that Dina and Ellie's relationship was rushed. I bought it, and I liked the build-up. And I don't know. It's not like I never have a problem with that. I've seen plenty of, shitty rom-coms where it feels like they hate each other and then 2 seconds later they're married.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that this is
bad. Of course. I know it's not that extreme.
It's just messy. Mm-hmm. And I'm not like fully convinced of it.
I think the thing is, in the game, you spend so much time in gameplay of them talking to each other that builds so much of kind of where their relationship goes. Yeah. And then the thing with the dance is presented so much later, and you believe it because you've already played so much of the game with Dina and you've seen everything. So you're like, oh, I just buy it. But with here, because the story's told in kind of a different order and Dina's more involved, it feels a little different. And you miss some of those like very small moments, like in the game, like they would call each other babe and stuff like that. There's just like little things that you kind of miss, I think. But
it's hard to keep that in mind, when you're watching, and then you're just like seeing it and you're like, oh, what the, it wasn't this fucking fast in the game, but it's a different medium, I guess,
Mm-hmm. Right. And like I said, this relationship part of this, that's a you guys thing. I don't have a problem with that for this scene. But for this scene, the part that I have the problem with is just, I feel like it's going a little too far, just a bit. I'm not like, it's not ruining anything for me, but I feel like it's going a little too far with how they're portraying Ellie as the brawn and Dina as the brains. However, I think that the point, what it's shown, because my dad and my brother during this point, like I mentioned earlier, were like, what the fuck are they doing? They're being idiotic. And I was like, yes, like that is the point. And that is the point. They are not, the characters are being intentionally reckless. But, well, I guess kind of, because Dina and Ellie even say that, Dina says this is reckless, kind of a wash earlier. But they are being written as being as they're intentionally being written as characters that don't know what they're doing, because it's a nice juxtaposition when we see at the end of this scene Jesse, because he clearly does know what he's doing, and even though we haven't seen yet, from what we know of Tommy in season 1, his backstory that we've heard from what him and Joel have done, and what we've seen a little bit from this season with the Horde, which I would argue, at least I'm thinking, that maybe some of that stuff was the Horde again is showing what Tommy can do, with the bloater and stuff like that. So I think that it's showing that Ellie and Dina are way out of their league. They don't really know what's going on. They're not prepared for this. And then Jesse and Tommy show up and they are. And it's the stark contrast. And like I said, we'll go into that a little bit more. But I think that right before we talk about the actual stalkers, the last thing I want to say is when all the stalkers are there and you see that it's, because I was like, oh, they're going to do that thing where it's, because in the game there's a lot of them. And I was like, okay, when there was just the one, I was telling my parents, I was like, oh, in the game there's way more. They're probably just going to do the one to make it more realistic. And then I see another one. I'm like, oh, okay, forget what I said, guys.
Never mind.
Yeah, because
dude, it was creepy as hell, man.
It was.
They looked the way it was shot. They looked really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
Just one after another.
The lights in their eyes.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Looking like cats.
Fucking
And the
hate
noise. Oh, the noises.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
those-
But
Fucking nightmare, dude.
it's crazy because we see that right there, as both Ellie and Dina have said in last week's episode and this episode, both of them are willing to die for each other. And right here, they essentially make a choice because Ellie could die. She probably would have died. In fact, I would say she definitely would have died if Jesse didn't show up. Which leads into another little problem that my family had. And I do agree, even though it doesn't bother me as much, because we have the Jesse Ex Machina. Because shows up out of nowhere when Ellie is at the jaws of death, essentially. And I like how it's framed, how from Ellie's perspective, even though obviously she knows that it's not, it's like Joel's saving me, which is very similar to an aspect later in the game that we see with a different character.
and similar to the false advertisement.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And I enjoy that because in this type of situation, Joel would be the one to save her. Not anymore, clearly. So both of them, Dina and Ellie, are looking out for each other. It's not enough. And I'm sure both Dina and Ellie, especially Ellie, though, because this is, for Ellie, I don't think Dina would be tracking down Joel's killers on her own. I'm sure Ellie feels very guilty. And she almost says as much earlier, Dina's pregnant. What is she doing? Why are they going out there? Dina could die. And of course, Dina has that little scene where she says, if I die, it's on me. But that doesn't mean that Ellie wouldn't feel any less responsible if it happens. So I think that having all of that, all of it, every little aspect that I just said, just leads to Jesse showing up. Because it shows why he is so different. Or how he is so different, I should say, not why. And like I said, the stalker scene was just so cool. I love the stalkers. I love how vicious they were. Their little kiss, and then Dina goes away, and the stalker that jumps down, Ellie could be torn apart. It's just the stakes are high, and I was like, how the hell are they getting out of this? Because I did not think they would introduce Jesse right there. And again, like I said, just this is the last negative thing I have to say about that, but it's just, it really did feel like a Deus Ex Machina with Jesse just showing up. And it happens in the game, but the way it happens in the show is it's like right when they're about to die. In the game, it's like it's a serious situation, and Ellie could die right there, and she probably would have if Jesse wasn't there. But it's not like active, oh shit, I'm about to die. Like if Jesse was like 10 seconds later, probably Ellie would have died.
It's very different because in the game, if I remember correctly, it's like when Dean is sick, Ellie hears on the radio that like, don't they hear that there's someone out with like a gun, kind of messing up?
And she
WLF
assumes
people?
it's Tommy. Yeah.
And she goes looking basically, and then she runs into Jesse, and then they kind of escape and then go back to the theater, more or less, is how it kind of plays out. And then from there,
they
Ellie
kill like 10 million WLF soldiers.
Yeah, and then from there, Ellie goes off to the hospital by herself. And that's what kind of bums me out a little bit. I really like Jesse in the show, but the scene in the game when they're escaping the WLF soldiers in the car, like that shit is awesome. And I'm like, damn, I'm so sad we're not going to get that.
It's just a lot of that action heavy. I said this before the season even aired. Hillcrest is the most action heavy part of, I think, the franchise, let alone the game.
Yeah.
It's very not dialogue-y. Like there's not even dialogue through gameplay. It's just a lot of combat. And on top of that, if you play on a hard difficulty, it's not even necessary. In fact, I don't even know how you would do it. When I play on Grounded, you have to stealth through because if you're killing people, they will be alerted and then you will die because there's 10 million of them.
Is it just impossible to kill them all on Grounded? Can you just not do it?
I mean, I'm sure a better player than me could probably do it.
I want to try. I want to try so bad, dude.
But I was like, no, you got to stealth your way through this. And there's a certain point when you obviously get in the car and all that where it's not possible to stealth anymore, of course.
Right.
But that I never felt that Hillcrest would be. If Hillcrest was in the show, I would have been surprised. It's the most gamey feeling part of the show or of the game. And I'm not gonna lie, if I'm in the mood to play a very gamey combat thing, I don't really play The Last of Us. So it's kind of one of my least favorite sections of the game, which is crazy because I know Hillcrest is beloved by a lot of people. But for me, it's just there's not much. There's not much. Yeah, if you want to just play like a gameplay thing, you could load up the Hillcrest sequence. I've done that before. Because I love The Last of Us combat gameplay. It's really fun. So if I just want to play combat, I'll go to chapter select, go to Hillcrest, and then fight it out. It's amazing. But,
I'm with you, Zoo. I'm not a Hillcrest guy either.
Yeah, if you're going through for the story, it's like Hillcrest is a big chunk of that part of the day where there's just essentially no story happening. And when I play Last of Us, I play for the story.
That part of the game is like
Psycho might be back.
Oh, yeah. that part of the game, it's so wet and muddy and gross too. Like it's really the atmosphere of why it's so cool.
Right.
In terms of the this part, like the stalker stuff, once we actually get into it, I liked it all.
Oh, we're into it, so go ahead. Feel free.
Yeah, no, yeah. I liked it all. I mean, I liked Jesse. Yeah, I understand what you're saying about Jesse showing up, and it's like mocking the thing, and it is what it is.
Like I said, my dad and brother did not really like that.
Yeah, I don't really know what else they could have done once they set the stage that way. The only issue that I have with this entire part is literally Ellie saying, "Well, they're too smart. They're not gonna if we run, they're not gonna follow us. They're gonna wait."
Yeah, again, more of that
and then
position dialogue.
And then it's like, okay, well, I'll actually run this way and you run that way, and they'll follow me, and you can go over there. So it's like, why did you even make the comment about if we run, they won't follow us? But then you do that anyway, and they follow you. I thought that was kind of like, I don't understand the entire point of that. But outside of that, yeah, I thought it was cool. They looked awesome. It was fun. High stakes. And then Jesse being there means my boy Tommy is there.
Yeah. And I can't even be mad about the Deus Ex Machina.
No, I'm having Tommy withdrawals. I need to hook that shit up to an IV.
I am surprised. I'm surprised that he split off from Jesse. I thought we would see both of them.
I thought he might have shown up
But obviously we don't want to talk about going forward, but I understand why. And I think it's probably the better move for Tommy to not be with them right now based on future events.
Yeah.
But real quick, I just want to say, just to clarify, Psycho, I actually agree with this. I think Hillcrest is the most fun part of the game. It's just that I don't play Last of Us for fun. I know and it sounds weird saying that, but it's like Neil Druckmann has talked about that. He said he's not really making a fun game. He's making it's a depressing game. It's a very dark game.
I gotta say this. The other day I was going through some stuff that I had clipped on my PlayStation, like in my captures or whatever, and I found a gameplay section that I had saved of just me playing The Last of Us Part 2 a couple months ago, and like there was a part in Hillcrest, or I don't remember. It might not have been Hillcrest, but there was a point where I just like shot a dog straight in the face, and of course you can hear. I didn't have my controller muted, so you could hear me talking, and I out loud go, "Oh, I'm sorry." it's like prime representation of how the game is, because like so many of those combat shits are so fun, but then like when you really like in the moment, you're just like fuck, like it's horrible the shit you're doing.
I have to kill the dog.
It is crazy that in such a dark game, physically like and viscerally, where if you shoot someone in the
Is
head
it a dark game? Is it? Because I don't know if it is.
If you shoot someone in the head with a revolver, you see their fucking brain matter and bones splatter.
Yeah,
and then they'll say, "Oh my god, you killed Nick! They killed Nick, guys!
I love
Where's
that.
Nick?"
I love that shit. Dude.
And
cry for your friends.
Yeah, and nobody cares about that. But then they kill a dog, and they're like, "No."
Mm-hmm.
Dude, when you watch, and anyone watching this right now shouldn't watch this yet until the season is over, but there's a documentary on the making of the second game, and when you obviously
I know exactly.
Don't watch it now because it just spoils a lot of stuff that happens later.
Definitely don't.
But the way that they go into how they do the blood spatter and stuff like that is fucking crazy. The shit that they do, like it's ridiculous. Like, it's so cool.
For sure.
Yeah, overall, actual Stalker part great, except for the run, but don't run. That's stupid. Anyway,
yeah, I love this whole fucking after they have their little meet cute before they go down the hallway, and just building the tension, that ambiance, the way that the hallway's lit with that like yellow of the flashlight and the tiles, and just the nothing's jumping out at you and nothing's coming to get you. I still thought for a second, like up until we like get into that main room, I was like, they're like Seraphites like in the ceiling? Like I don't know, I was so convinced that it was gonna be them.
We were waiting for the whistle, huh?
Yeah, I really was. And then you see that first one and just the excitement that I had feeling that was so fun. And then they're like, okay, it's just one. We can take it. And then just the quick like glance of oh my god, now there's fucking 3 more. And they're like all perched up and stuff. Ugh. It gets under your skin.
So
in like
I love
best
how
way.
I love how they introduced the stalkers earlier, like with just the one, and then now we have a bunch of them. And
because it really like raises like the stakes,
right.
like you
because
understand.
Ellie would have died if she was not immune. So you're like, what the fuck? It's crazy.
Speaking of like raising the stakes and the danger, I mentioned this to you, Michael, but any opportunity to shit on the horde attack, I'm gonna again another week where we have like 6, 7, 8 like stalkers.
We won't get
There's
this again.
so much more danger than if endless faceless army of them. Like why do I feel like these characters, Ellie's not gonna die? Why do I feel like she's gonna fucking die in this moment? It's just so executed so much
right.
more
Obviously
better.
We
it's
know that Ellie
right?
Yeah, we know Ellie's not going to die, but I was sitting there. I'm like, legitimately, I don't know how they're getting out of it. And then when it was, Jesse showed up. I was like, oh, now we're getting Tommy, and then it's not. And I'm so like, oh, I never thought it was Jesse. So
I never thought it was going to be like a Deus Ex. I never thought of it in that way because Jesse does appear in the game. But now, like. T-Mac, what you were saying about like the restructuring and how they're doing it, it's one of those like domino effect things, they changed this, so this has to change, and now this has to change, and so how else do we get Jesse back into the story? And it's like weakening, like retroactively. Now I'm thinking about it, it like weakens that moment when I start to think about it critically. Maybe they should have telegraphed it more, like in the council scene. You create this scene, maybe Tommy and Jesse can like look at themselves, like share like a look or something. You don't have to necessarily linger on it or nothing else like that, or even have them say nothing. But it is just like there's no other option. Okay, Jesse's just gonna appear. Oh, he's been tracking
I
him
think-
instead of Ellie finding him.
I think show version of Tommy legitimately would not have went to Seattle if Ellie didn't. And I think that they really are here.
Yeah, that's the
Bring
thing. Like he
back
wouldn't
Ellie.
have because
Yeah.
of the changes that they made to his character.
So it's like Ellie and Dina go. They put themselves at risk. They don't know what they're doing. So now Tommy and Jesse are sent. So
or
I
go.
yeah, go.
Well, that's the
Maybe-
craziest thing. They weren't sent. They
Yes, they
still
were-
like snuck
Right.
out.
They
like,
snuck out. See, Maria's gonna wake up and she's gonna be like, "I'm fucking done with this." Gail, Seth, go get him back.
That's how we get Gale back in. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Gail and Seth. are
Gale
gonna
and
go-
Seth would go crazy.
Yeah, dream team.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
I'm just waiting on Gail to show up, bro.
yeah.
And Seth with limping around.
Oh, I predict we will get at least one Gale scene next episode.
More than one. I think we're gonna get multiple Gales.
The whole episode is just Gale. Actually,
I think she's gonna tag along with them.
You know what I think? I think the whole episode thus far, or the whole show just thus far, has actually been Gale talking in therapy to all the characters about what could
Yes.
happen.
Yeah, like
That's
I
what
agree.
Maybe, maybe it's Gale's dream. Like
It
that
is.
Yeah,
guy was
there you
playing.
go.
She's
You
looking
know?
at Joel and she's like, Joel, if you don't tell
This is
Ellie
what's
what
gonna
you
happen."
did, you're gonna die.
Yeah, crazy. Oh my god. Anyway, Jesse's pissed, rightfully so. I feel, and Jesse's not pissed in the game, and I wonder if this will make people. I gotta ask my mom because my mom does like Jesse. My dad said he was indifferent to him so far, but my mom likes Jesse. I didn't talk to her and see how this made her feel.
dude,
But
I like couldn't be like more pleased. Him
yes,
just-
I'm
it's,
very
like,
happy that
him running and like just the shoot. Like I don't know, man. There was just something. He has so much
Yep.
aura. Like it's like honestly, that man knows what he's fucking doing.
I just feel
They're
I
doing a good
wonder.
job with him.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe Dr. Fargon, since if your dad said anything, but I know I would like to see if people know, how they feel about Jesse in this moment, because
Oh, he loved
if
it.
you're still on Ellie's side and Jesse's being pretty asshole-ish to her, rightfully so, I think, but you could say, well, what the fuck, Jesse? But if you're on Jesse's side with that, like I believe, rightfully so, because Ellie is doing reckless shit, putting herself in danger, Dina in danger, and now, because she went out there, now her actions have put Jesse in danger and Tommy in danger. So she's putting 4 people in danger plus an unborn baby.
My dad
So-
is on the kill that bitch side, so he is hype that Jesse and now Tommy are there, so that the 4 of them can put it to these fucking assholes.
But Jesse specifically says, "Time to go home." So what did your dad think about that?
He did not have a reaction. He didn't have an opinion on when Jesse said time to go home.
Okay.
I think he just assumes that that's not going to happen, and they're going to.
Okay, because
they're
I
going
do
to
like
progress towards
right.
finding and killing Abby.
I do like that Jesse.
But yeah, as soon as he showed up, he was like, "All right, business can pick up now." And Tommy's here. All right, now they're in trouble. And then
Ellie, she's bitching about it. Jesse's like, "Do you think I want to talk to you right now?"
Dude,
And
do you
I love
look
that
like
line.
I want to fucking talk to you right now. That
Yeah.
Right.
line just
Oh.
it cut through me.
It's really interesting because in the game, Jesse doesn't really start to push back with
Right.
it until much later. But I like that. I love Jesse in the game, but I do like this characterization a lot of he is the town guy.
He's
you
Captain
know?
Wyoming, right?
So it's a different characterization, but I do like it, and I do think it brings the what kind of what Austin was saying earlier, the much needed conflict that we should have at this point, because there's no real conflict between Dina and Ellie yet. So kind of start that now with bringing him in, with kind of just being what the fuck are y'all doing?
right.
Agree.
I also love that because we're kind of when the WLF are chasing them into the park, they all stop at the gate and they're
Yeah.
like, "Don't go in there." And
You can hear her
all their
talking.
reactions were
Yeah.
like, "What the fuck now?"
Mm-hmm.
That's cool for us. We know what's coming, but I bet
Yes.
audience members, at least through context, were probably able to like piece together probably what was coming.
I loved every bit of what we're about to talk about.
Yeah. Right before we talk about that, a few things I want to make note of what Jesse says in this conversation, because like I said, Ellie says, we were fine, and then Jesse's like, until what?
Right.
Until they weren't, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. Dina and Ellie were screwed. So Ellie doesn't have a right to talk like that right now, but it's so Ellie, of course.
And then came off real quick. To me, it kind of came off as more of like he's more pissed off that they kind of went without.
Oh yeah, for sure.
More
it's not a place of resentment or
it's like I can't believe you went just.
I care about you.
Like, yes, you're putting. I'm sure Jesse's thinking. Obviously, he doesn't know about the baby, but I'm sure Jesse is thinking you're putting yourself at risk. You're putting Dina at risk. Now you're putting me at risk. You're putting Tommy at risk. There's too much at risk here. All of us being here also puts Jackson at risk.
Yeah.
There's too much problem for your little revenge.
It's like we could have come back with Seth and
Seth has an Apache helicopter. What are you doing? Like
he's got napalm.
Yeah. But I like this little thing of, they're like, how did you find us? Jesse says you left the map at the theater. Very irresponsible.
Yeah,
Dina and Ellie, what are you doing? You shouldn't be leaving that around. And then, of course, we get the confirmation that Tommy's in Seattle. I'm sure we were all very happy about that. But then, of course, we see the Seraphites in the park. And I loved this. I know Austin is very angry that it wasn't raining.
I am. That is my unironic
that is your different color leaf.
Different color.
You're not wrong. There's not enough rain.
It
is Seattle. You're right.
That's the only thing overall.
It rained while I was there.
It rains
a lot.
It's so sad.
It's not like an actual
yes, of course
thing, but it adds to the atmosphere.
Yeah, it does make it
for sure.
It does make it more.
I did,
and I just know that in the future, kind of sad.
I do feel, if I'm being honest, that's not something I even picked up on. That it wasn't raining. I didn't even think of it like that, because the atmosphere of everything else I thought was perfect. It was just like the game. It was so creepy feeling when you see the Seraphites, and we'll talk about this. It's not really a sacrifice.
It was not a genuine criticism. That it
yes, of course, I understand. It's we'll talk about. It's not really a sacrifice, like I said, because it's more. The Seraphite is essentially, from his perspective, doing a service for the WLF soldier. But before we talk about that, I just want to skip ahead a little bit, because I love when Dina is an adventurer, and then she takes an arrow to the knee.
All right.
And when that happens, I really enjoyed that, because it's done straight how the game does it, where it's like you think that they're being stealthy.
It was a nice
like yeah, you think it's there, and then it's like, nope, arrow right there. And as soon as that was done, my first thought was, my co-hosts are going to be happy that Dina's sidelined now. As am I, because from what's coming forward, she cannot
I hate
be there.
this
We
about
hope.
myself.
Yes.
But
You also you can't,
You're right.
because in the game obviously Ellie is hit with the arrow, but you can't do that. You actually
Yes.
can't do that
Right.
in the show, because
Because
just the laws of like
it just doesn't make sense. If she's hit with the arrow, she's not going anywhere. She's
Dude, I was
she's
such a
sidelined.
dumbass in the game. I didn't know I had to pull the arrow out.
Me too. The first time, I was like, "What the
I was
fuck?"
like, why am I dying? Like, what is happening?
Yeah. Well, the funny
Oh.
thing is, that's a mechanic throughout the rest of the game. But like,
Yep.
if you play on regular and you're just like pretty good at the game, you're never really going to get hit with arrows like that. So it's kind of a wasted mechanic that you don't really need. I'm sure you probably use it more in Grounded, but
It's cool that it's there though.
yeah.
For sure. And I do.
I I want to say I am playing it on hard plus mode this time.
Ooh, nice.
I'm not
Sweet.
quite grounded yet, but I'm
No, that's
working my
Bump that
way
shit
up.
back down to
That-
easy, bro, and just enjoy your life.
that's a good
I
way to
won't
put
lie. It was in the carousels part. I was really tempted. I was getting frustrated.
it. You know what my
Too old to be
I'm
playing
obviously
games like that, bro. Too old.
obviously, you know,
I want
we're
to enjoy my time.
I don't want to
Yeah.
go too heavy into it, but the funny thing is, Tyler, is that for me, playing on easy in a game like Last of Us or a
Michael's
game like
just too
Uncharted.
good.
No,
Yeah.
it's
That's
no.
what it was like.
I am
He's
not.
like,
Hold
I
on.
don't play on
good.
easy. I'm just
No,
saying that.
hold on.
I'm just saying.
I
I just
play on.
I play on regular, just
I
regular.
play
No.
on easy. I play on easy all the
Yeah,
time
can you imagine
for
not
every
wanting to
game.
play a game and just like
Yes,
enjoy
exactly.
the
That's why
time,
I always play every game on easy. I don't play if a difficulty ever has below easy, like very easy. I don't play that.
like story mode. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. I never play that, but I do play on easy all the time. It's just that then if I love a game enough, which really is only Naughty Dog games, if I'm being honest, I'll replay them on a harder
Ace?
difficulty. But for Last of Us, same with Uncharted. If I play on easy, I rely and I barely use my guns. I'm a melee guy, and even on Fallout. I'm a melee guy. I always use
I remember
melee
you
guns.
telling me about that on Assassin's Creed. You're like, I don't
Right.
even change or upgrade. It's like, bro,
Right,
what?
and God of War as well. So in Last of Us and Uncharted is especially Uncharted. It's the third-person shooter. But if you play Uncharted 2 or 3 or 1 and 4 less so, but 2 and 3 on easy, you could. It's mostly a fisticuffs game. It's a beat 'em up because
right.
it's so easy. You can just go up to them and punch them. In Last of Us on easy mode, I feel like I'll just rush people with a pipe and just hit them over and over again. But on normal, you can't do that because if you do that, they'll like shoot you in your tracks and then you'll be stunned and stuff like that. So when I replay Last of Us now, unless I'm specifically going for a grounded run, I'll play on normal because easy it kind of robs you of how the game should be played if you play on easy.
Yeah,
So-
normal's a good balance, but when I was replaying it recently, I did think to myself, like, I am getting through this pretty easily because I've played the game so many times, and I was like, I probably should actually, the next time I play it, do hard or grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you played something so long. Don't do
Right.
Right. I also
I'll
wanted
play
to say,
grounded with unlimited ammo.
yeah, I mean, there you go. You know what you could also do? I'm gotta give props to Naughty Dog. They're great with accessibility. I love that there are blind people that can play the game. There are deaf people that can play the game. That's so cool. People without limbs, it's really cool that they do that. However, if you who are not blind and are not deaf and do have all your limbs, if you take advantage of those accessibility settings, there are things that you can do to make while you're on grounded to make it even easier where like you can go prone and then you could never be spotted while you're in prone. That's an option. I've never done that because I feel like it's cheating to use accessibility settings if you don't actually need it. But you can do that if you want to. If grounded got too hard for you and you wanted to do
Sneak
some
around
things,
everything.
yeah, you could.
I lost my arm, and then I regrew it after this combat mission.
That's crazy.
Sounds like I'm about to cheese grounded mode.
Right. But last thing before we get into the meat of the Seraphite scene, I wanted to say that the thumbnail Seraphite that Austin picked for the thumbnail for this, she was I haven't seen the movie, I've only read the books, but she is from Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So
It's Patty Farrell. It's
Sure.
Patty Farrell from
I don't know.
Fire Wimpy Kid.
I don't even know. What the fuck you're talking about.
Hell yeah.
Heffley, don't make me beat you up again.
Oh my goodness.
Am I
Yeah.
the youngest one here?
yeah,
I
I need
love
to. It's funny. I don't know why I've never watched the movie because I really enjoyed the books when I was reading them as a
I
kid.
think that's low key a great trilogy.
Bro
I
got
should
me
check
feeling
them
like an unk over here.
As like a family film like thing. It's really cute.
I should check him out. But like I said, I am a big fan of the books, but maybe
So,
I'll
like,
be like,
Captain
the book was
Underpants?
better. The book was better.
Captain
Just like you
Underpants
guys
is
would be like, the
good.
game is better.
Captain
I mean, I'm
Underpants
saying the
is
game is
good.
better too.
Rama.
That's where I stop with that kind of stuff. Captain Underpants. That's what I had.
Yeah, I like the Captain Underpants books. I
love
wrote-
those books.
It inspired me to write a comic book series called Captain Duck and his sidekick Lil Quack.
Nah.
The whole
Like,
comic
all
book
right,
series.
bro.
Great
All right, bro.
to the back
Did
half.
you illustrate?
That's
it?
so good.
I did.
Holy
I
shit.
draw it. I did.
Oh, you
and
got to publish. You got to publish.
I can't. You know why? Because every issue they would fight like a character from a movie. So it's like I got them fighting Godzilla, Superman, Batman. Like they're always going after
It's-
like crazy.
It's funny you say that because I'm not very artistic, but when I was a kid and reading those books, I used to like doodle little drawings because Harold
Hell
and
yeah.
George, the main characters, like obviously like made comics and stuff, and there's a
Mhm.
big like point of the book. So I
Yes.
I did a little bit of that too when I was a
That's
kid.
why I was always I could do my own, and I got
Bro.
them somewhere.
I made my own Mortal Kombat characters. Like I think we
Hell
the
yeah,
stories
bro.
and everything. Like I think
That's
it's
awesome.
involved.
I used to write comics about like my pets and things like that, or like
Aw.
or just video game characters that I really liked. Like I was
Yeah.
really obsessed with Spyro, so I used to draw like little Spyro comics and stuff like that. that I
Oh,
just
that's,
made
Oh,
up.
that's,
hell yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, that's cool. We all
God, I
well
miss
maybe.
childhood.
when
Tell me
times
about
were
it.
easier.
Yeah.
My Xbox 360, come back to me.
Yeah. Well, anyway, talking about kid stuff.
Carol in Last of Us was not on my bingo card.
Yeah. Talking about kid stuff, we can go straight into watching someone get disemboweled by the Seraphites.
Yeah.
So perfect.
Bro.
Family friendly
Incredible.
content.
Yeah, but that was a crazy moment.
I can't believe they showed it the way that they did. I was like,
Mhm.
holy shit.
Just
So
sticking
slow and methodical.
the
yeah.
blade on him and then just raising him up.
Ugh.
Oh, what a brutal way to do that, man.
That's
Yep.
that's what I'm talking about.
That's-
Man.
I love how Dina.
That's
like,
the Last of Us right there.
Dina knows she'll throw up because she's already done it twice and almost did it a third time. So she looks
Throw
away,
up.
but fuck you know.
Grow up.
Instead of
Grow the
going,
fuck up.
instead of going into Jesse, she goes into Ellie.
Oh,
and
your
I thought
first
that was very-
Seraphite party?
that was very cute and nice. I like that she went into Ellie. But I do you guys have anything to say specifically about the Seraphite ceremony?
Oh yeah, man.
Okay, go ahead.
Incredible.
Dude, it's like this is the show operating at like full, like all cylinders, right? Like
Yep.
the characters are reacting to something. The costumes are great. The location is spectacular. The lighting is just spot on. It's honoring the game, but it's mixing things a little bit because in the game it's a little bit different how this specific interaction happens, but it changes it in a way where I don't feel betrayed, I guess, and then but it's still like horrifying. But all the elements are still correct there, you know. Dina getting hit with the arrow instead of Ellie, that remixes that element, and then
Yeah,
you go into the combat of the whistling and
yes,
just
for
the-
sure. The whistling
what
is
the fuck
so
is
I
that,
love
you
it.
know, like them, like what
Yeah.
is happening? Just
I wanted
that
to say just real quick.
picnic is-
Don't go into the Dina and being shot and stuff. Yeah, I brought that a little. I want to save that for a bit. I want to talk just about the ceremony. If
Okay.
you have something to say about that, if you
yeah,
guys,
yeah. No,
'Cause-
it really did great, like world building.
Okay.
You know, just
I agree.
really doubling down on this cult like mentality. You know, actually being able to see a glimpse of these people. We've seen a glimpse of them where maybe we were a little misled. You know,
Mhm.
oh, the little father-daughter time. Can I get my hammer? Does the prophet protect us? Does the
Yeah.
prophet protect you from the
Yeah.
guys in the woods disemboweling people? Like,
Yeah.
oh my god, what?
May she
who are
guide
these
us.
people?
She protects us.
I love it. I love seeing it, like everything about it. Just the monologue, the world building, and then my dad, who's obviously I've said many times hasn't played the same game. He doesn't really know much about the Seraphites except for what he's seen, and so he just sees the dude getting disemboweled, and he's just my favorite reaction to my dad is when he just goes, "Oh hell!" Like that's how you know something. That's how you know something's got him. And just as they were slowly raising that guy up, and he was like, "Oh hell!" And I was like, "Yeah, these guys don't
I love
fuck
that.
around, man. They don't fuck around." So it kind of just reinforces to those who never played, and to even Ellie and Dina and Jesse, that they are not prepared for
Nope.
either faction that they have encountered, and it's going to be a rude awakening for them.
It's the way that the Seraphites really believe what they're doing is the right thing. Like they really believe that
Yeah,
they're
no
freeing this
hesitation.
person. they really believe that they're freeing this person
Yeah.
like in her light or whatever. It's just it's really, really cool. Cult stuff in video games and fiction is always very, very interesting. And symbolic to so much stuff in real life. So yeah, I loved it too. Really, really cool.
For sure.
Well, you guys said it perfectly. I don't know if I could add much more to it, except for the dude who held the blade to the WLF. He was something straight out of like Game of Thrones, and now he is free.
Just straight up, dude.
So
Yeah.
freaking cool,
He's
dude.
like a medieval
Great
villain or
voice.
something.
Yes.
Yeah, great voice. Straight
I
up.
He
love-
looked really cool. He looks cool.
I love how after Dina gets shot, you
Aura.
know,
That dude had a lot of aura.
for
Yeah.
sure. When
I
he's
wish
like,
I
you
looked
can't.
that cool disemboweling someone on.
Fucking hell. How do you usually look when disemboweling someone, Austin?
I don't know. You tell me. Do the Seraphites hire twinks?
Fucking hell. Oh my god.
That's crazy.
God.
I love how after Dina gets shot though, that Seraphite that we're all talking about. Yeah, Snud. Snud, like you're saying. When Snud when after Dina gets shot and he goes, I forget his exact line, but he's just like, you can't hide, you know. She'll
Calls her a
she'll
wolf.
guide us.
Yeah,
Yes,
something
can't
like
hide,
that.
wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Straight.
I love
Also,
it.
side note, if that's Snud, I'm picking Snud every time.
I hate to see Amy.
Yeah, and Amy,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have an clue what's coming for.
Fucking hell. Anyway, yeah, you know, Amy is the character from Diver Wimpy Kid, Patty. There you go. That's
Oh,
Amy.
we're going
That makes
Snud.
sense.
Snud,
Going
all the
Snud
way.
every time.
Snud all the way.
Damn, that's
Oh, God.
crazy. I could not. I recognized her, and then I made the thumbnail, and like the whole time it was driving me nuts. I could not place it. That's fucking Patty Farrell. That's crazy.
Bro, we got Josh last episode.
Yeah, we got
all
John.
my
Yeah.
This is
childhood
crazy.
like influences are coming back to me.
Yeah.
In the most.
I'm
graphic
waiting
way.
for Steve from Blue's Clues to make an appearance.
bro.
That would be crazy.
If he's a scar, he's bald.
Oh,
that's
I
fine.
did see a clip on Twitter or Instagram. I forget what it was of Josh Peck on his podcast, and he's like, "Guys, y'all don't get it. I do Oppenheimer, then I do iCarly, then I do Last of Us, then I do Hallmark." He's like, "I got range, guys." It's so funny.
I love it. To finish off this scene, though, I love that Dina is shot because it accomplishes so many things. The
That's
first
crazy.
thing,
You hate Dina?
yeah, fuck Dina. I know I would, but so Dina is
Crazy.
when Dina is shot. I the first thing is that of course this is a scene from the game, but the scene from the game obviously Ellie gets shot. But what this does is it still has the iconic scene from the game. However, like Tyler said, if Ellie were to get shot, just doesn't make sense for the realistic way they're going. Ellie's not going to be running through a hospital after she was shot with an arrow. It's not happening, especially if it was in the leg. But in the game, it's in the shoulder. But still, that's very gamey, of course. So that's
Ellie's
nice.
got it. Ellie's
And
got
then,
it. Ellie's so
then
good.
after the fact, we were all talking about, and I said it, and I'm waiting for Dr. Forgon to call me Zeustradamus again, because I did say they had to get Dina sidelined somehow, because there was no way she was going to be in the hospital with Ellie. It just did not make sense, and she wasn't. So I like that this accomplished that. This was a way to get Dina out, and because it puts Dina in danger, the fact that Ellie, as we've seen this relationship building, and this is why I'm calling back to what I said earlier, where I like all of this relationship stuff, because we see how much they care about each other. We see all these fun, cute moments. And then when it comes down to it, Ellie needs to look after the person that she loves, but she can't, and she doesn't, and she would never. I don't even think it's a hard choice for Ellie. Ellie decides to go to the hospital.
You might be able to interpretate that she hesitates, but honestly, she really doesn't.
No.
She thinks, and then she's like, it's like less than a second. She's locked in. Then
Right.
What I
She-
want to circle back when that thing that you put in the back of my head about Dina not telling the truth in the moment.
Yes, that's what I was just going to talk about. So I'm glad you're saying.
Hey, I actually wrote it down as like I was going to critique it, but I'm almost want to backpedal it because I was going to say that it's weird that at the beginning of the episode that Dina was all end of the earth revenge, but now when Jesse is saying it's time to go, she's shocked when Ellie is still pushing on.
Ellie.
But sorry, I put this at the bottom of it because it was like all happening at once. I like hearing like that Mark Quayle during the like scene, like the like when the Seraphite stuff. Like we give Gus like all his props, but Mac also worked on that part 2 soundtrack, and for me, honestly, my favorite parts of that soundtrack are all his pieces. Those more intense, like almost war zone type music that he like created for the.
So
soundtrack.
Austin hates Gustavo too. That's crazy.
No, Mac. Yeah, I meant Mac Psycho.
Yeah.
Or did I? Is it? Oh, it is Mac. I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah. That's the Mac.
Yeah, no, I wanted to circle back to that. And, okay, yeah, you're right. Dina is kind of shocked, and she might be lying in that moment. Just to,
right. That's how. And again, I don't think she's lying to Ellie. I think that she just doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't even see in herself. And I love that.
I ain't no Mac. Sorry.
I love that because you see that for Dina, she sees that, all right, this is kind of getting out of hand now. What the fuck is wrong with Seattle? It's too much. And then we see that obviously we know Jesse agrees, but Ellie's not because she is different. This is very different for her. She can't let it go. Neil Druckmann in the podcast describes this in a great way. Neil says that Ellie is like an addict. She neglects the people that love her to pursue something, even at her own personal cost. And for Ellie, her addiction is revenge, justice, as she calls it. Although I would argue it's not really justice, it's revenge. And she just can't let it go. You see when she's at the sign, she can't turn back. Dina is in danger. Dina could die for all Ellie knows. But in this moment, Ellie, again,
has the
I believe
to fixate this
right
bloodlust she has.
Exactly.
Take it.
And then, of course, this leads into our penultimate scene, which is the whole hospital sequence. So the first thing I will say about this sequence is a lot of people were critical that Ellie doesn't kill 1 million people on the way to Nora. And I can understand maybe some, but also if you play the game, there are a lot of people in that hospital. I'm pretty sure you kill more people in that hospital than Joel killed in all of season 1. So it's a very gamey thing. Yeah. So I'm fine the way they did it. And again, it shows a stealth sequence again. And I kind of like how the game has been doing that.
It doesn't, like she
true. It's just like a little
wall and
you're right.
Which is fine. I'm okay with it. You know what I did really like about the opening of the hospital scene? The dog.
Bonnie.
I got so tense when I saw that thing. I was like, there's no way, right?
You know what?
There ain't no way.
What I didn't like, though, and I know this is it's a little silly little nitpick. This is, as Justin said, this is the leaf color change. It's not Bear. It's Bonnie. What the heck? Why'd they change that? I wish it was Bear.
Because Bear's...
That's the name of the dog.
Get got.
Yeah, right. But we,
Yeah,
well, hopefully that doesn't.
Dog, I saw like the prone listen mode trail come up. I was like, oh boy, here we fucking go.
Right, and that was really cool. I enjoyed that, and like you said, it's even though it is a little bit of a stealth sequence, it's not much of it. It's very little small.
It's a pacing thing. They're trying to keep up the momentum,
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Get to I'm like okay with them cutting a lot of that out because, like you said, it would be kind of like tonally wild if she did kill like a bunch of people in a hospital when the like inciting incident of this season is about someone killing someone, a bunch of people like in a hospital, and then like I can get behind them for a television series kind of skirting past that. Okay, she's at Nora.
But we couldn't have gotten the Whitney PS Vita scene. I was like,
Right.
come on.
I just
Right.
want to say real quick, Psycho, I deleted your comment because I just thought it was a tiny bit too spoilery. But yes, I agree. But it's a little bit spoilery.
Say it on stream. You won't. I missed it.
You're right. I won't. I'll
say it.
My favorite part is when
That's crazy. But
Can I bet that out?
when Nora, yeah, exactly.
damn
There you go.
Psycho.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Spoilers,
I
crazy.
can't believe
But when
Can I
when
get some
we
golf
see-
clubs in chat?
fucking Dina's
Fuck it
pregnant,
out.
bro.
It's
God damn.
Not funny anymore. Or it's still funny, I swear.
I love how, because I was wondering if they were going to keep it. I really hope they did. And with the exception of some lines at the very end of this scene, which I kind of don't like that they cut, especially what they changed it with was worse in my opinion. But other than that, I think that this entire sequence, especially before we get to the basement, is really, really good. I've seen some people complain that she wasn't listening to the music that she was in the game, but that is true leaf color thing. That is like
I don't give a shit.
I don't care about that. I know what people are talking about, but
Right.
if you hadn't said that, I wouldn't even remembered it.
right, exactly. And
I honestly didn't notice that the dialogue was different at the end. Like
no. I mean the very, very end. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
even
yeah.
there I didn't like.
Okay, I'll point it out. But
Okay.
I really
And then
like.
I'll go, oh yeah, fuck.
I really like how in the game and the show, you could frame when Nora
you
says,
think?
yeah. Okay. That when Nora says, yeah, that little bitch got what he deserved. You can read that a few different ways. You can read that as she's trying to upset Ellie, so she has a moment to escape. Or you can read that as she's being honest. And I believe that it's both. I
Yeah.
think that she is trying to upset Ellie, but Nora has a certainty that what they did in Jackson was morally correct. And it's funny because despite how, she is saying later in this scene, don't you know what he did? All of that, Nora absolutely believes that Joel deserved to not only die, but how he died. Yeah. And yet, when they're in Jackson, you see how Owen is saying, get on with this, end it now. Mel is sitting in the corner crying. Manny is like, yeah, okay. So Manny's on board. But then we cut to Nora, and Nora's like wincing away. She's clearly not 100% comfortable. So she does agree. And yet it's like, if you guys know the phrase, that she doesn't want to see how the sausage is made, essentially. So she's more than happy to see Joel get his comeuppance and what she believes to be justice, but she didn't want to witness how it was done. And I thought that was very interesting characterization of Nora. But I love how, they didn't have that little moment in the game, which is very savage. And it's cut off very quickly where Nora says the little bitch got what he deserved. And Ellie says, you fucking cut. And then she throws the dish at her.
Yeah.
The thing, right? I always thought that was very savage by Ellie. But I love this chase sequence because it's right out of the game. And you see how...
I did for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, you see how, she's like, Nora's flipping out. She's saying, shooter, trespasser, whatever. And Ellie she feels like an intimidating monster in this sequence. She's chasing her down, shooting wildly, saying, Nora, you're gonna fucking die. And I've seen people online, even my brother has kind of felt it, that Bella Ramsey is not that intimidating. But I think that this scene showed that she is for this scene.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed seeing that. I think that if I was Nora, I'd be scared because she's crazy. She's running, shooting,
Yeah, she's
screaming.
so scared she ran down in a B2.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing I didn't like about the chase in this is it's just like a problem I have with all sequences like this. Somehow, no matter what it is, it makes stormtrooper accuracy look like better than what
My
they
brother
have.
said the same thing when they were
Like,
shooting. My
right.
brother's like, "These guys are stormtroopers or what?"
No, they're like worse than stormtroopers. Like I think stormtroopers would have. And again, I know like you can't. The character's not in any danger, so like you can't have them getting shot and all that. But also like, I love the chase; it's cool. But at some point, it's like, all right, so one of these bullets have to hit. Like I mean,
Graze
God
her or something.
damn, and I guess it was started by Star Wars. Like I guess it's a Star Wars problem. I don't think.
Oh,
I thought it was fitting.
nice.
Yeah. Awesome.
Was that a spoiler?
Were you here? Like, did you hear what we were saying, Austin?
Yeah, I was listening.
Okay, because I wanted to hear your opinion when I was talking about like that Nora, she doesn't really like, to see how the sausage is made, that she's down for Joel to be killed and tortured. But then when she's actually there in the moment, she's wincing away, even though we see that based on what she says and her actions, that she absolutely believes like there's no regrets there. Like it was morally correct from her perspective.
Yeah, I honestly I had like no notes through this whole like back half. I genuinely think that everything worked really, really well for me. Nora's last little spit at Ellie was just like, it was just enough to like kind of reignite that kind of, this bitch gotta die, This segment of the game is one of those moments I will always remember. You've talked about how Neil's goal with the game was, see how far he can take you and then how far he can bring you back. This moment is like the moment of how far I would go. Like I remember, I'm skipping. I'm sorry, but Nora was like, I don't know what came over me as a player, but I wanted her dead. I like relished in like taking her down. Because it's like press. Like,
oh, you didn't? You weren't like hesitating, bro?
No.
Damn, I was hesitating. That's great.
I was
because it's the way she fools you. Because at first she's kind of like easy with Ellie and kind of tries to talk to her, but then it's the quick turn of like, oh no, that little bitch got what he deserved, and it's like, oh, you're going down.
Then you're like Ellie, you're like, you fucking cut.
Any hesitation that I would have had as a player in that moment. I'm just talking about the damn game, not even the show anymore. But like, it was just such a smart way to like, and I'm sure it was effective with show only people too. Like I really am curious to hear like what show only people have to say about this.
Well, I will tell you, my mom.
Psycho, bro. Like it was like the moments between each swing. I was bathing in the violence.
You psychopaths!
Listening to the screen.
I don't know. The narrative worked on me. I didn't know that was in me.
And
I'll tell you what my dad said. As soon as Nora was like, "Little bitch got what she deserved," my dad was like, "Oh, you fucked up. Get her ass. Get her ass."
Joshua is saying very effective from a show only perspective.
Good.
100%. 100%.
My mom, I could see at the corner of my eye. My mom, as soon as Nora said this little bitch, my mom was like, and then when she was inhaling the spores, my mom was like,
The zoo mom was
So I
like,
could-
the zoo mom was like, Sarah fight her ass. Just fucking disembowel.
Yeah.
Bring back in Snud.
Yeah. Oh my god. That's so funny, real quick, just because Commander Cook drew Snud and it's such like a weak looking, like nerdy guy. And then we're saying that Snud is now this big
Bro, I don't know what you're talking about. We saw
rock
Snud.
crazy.
Disembowel your ass, bro.
Oh yeah. But anyway, so
But yeah,
I-
the stormtrooper thing, like you guys were bringing up, like
It's so minor. Like, it doesn't. mean anything,
I
but-
hear what you're saying. I agree to like an extent, but like, that would be like if I said it, I felt like I'd have to paraphrase. Like I'm just nitpicking at that point, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Before-
it's a nothing burger. It's just like something I noticed.
You know,
but
maybe
it's
there
something
could've
I
been, like-
always notice in sequences like this in any medium. I'm like, here we go again, where they can't
Yeah.
fucking hit them. You know.
Like maybe
Before-
if there was someone else like in the chase and Ellie just like lit him up or something, you know, that would be
Yeah.
pretty. But I like that the focus is on these two.
Ellie's just really fast, you know.
yeah,
Not
there
as
you go.
fast as Nora.
You know
Dude,
what?
how does Ellie run?
You've seen the gameplay like clip that goes around where that guy like almost caught Nora and like
Yeah.
she literally like blips like
Well-
across the screen.
Well, Austin, you're forgetting. She's using the force speed from the beginning.
Yeah,
of Phantom
Phantom
Menace.
Menace.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ooh,
There
I
you
forgot
go.
about the Force.
Yeah.
Forgot about the Force.
So did George
Ellie-
Lucas.
what I'm saying is Ellie-
George Lucas was like, Force jump and speed. What are those?
Yeah.
I love how. Okay, real quick. This is so stupid, but I love how in Fortnite, every time you play, they use the force speed and force jump when you have a lightsaber, and I'm like, man, Fortnite remembers more than the prequels. This is not
Well,
there.
you see, the midichlorians have to be
Okay.
in tune specifically for you to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, so all the Fortnite characters have more midichlorians
Yeah.
than Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. That's what it is.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
All those Jedi that get gunned down by the clones, they couldn't force speed away if they wanted to.
Okay, so Joshua, this is what I want to talk about right now because before we go into the final part of this scene, which is Nora's torture, I want to talk about the spores because this was why they brought spores in because you can't tell this portion of the story
No.
without spores.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. I was so worried in season 1, like when they said that they weren't doing them. This is the scene that
Right.
like my brain went to. I was like, what the fuck are they gonna do when they get there? So
Yeah.
I'm just so, and the way that they added it in, I said it all before. We all said it like at the beginning. It's just like it was so clever, and it really added to like this atmosphere of just danger. Really, like it really raised the
Right.
stakes. Like, oh my god, this thing could. What if it gets in the air like outside of this fucking basement, dude? Like it's just game
Yeah.
over for
And
us.
and when we talked about this, I think it was an earlier episode of The App of Us when we were talking about them bringing spores in. We said how there were two scenes where spores were a big part of the game, and Craig and Neil said they changed one, kept the other. The other one was
it makes this one more impactful, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
The other one that they changed is in the game. We could talk about that. Ellie gets her. She's wearing a mask, and her mask is broken. And Dina tries to change out her mask, and Ellie stops her and says, "No, she's immune." That's how Ellie reveals she's immune in the game. Now, I do like that scene. I love how Dina is willing to take her mask off. I love that so much.
Yeah.
But the way that it allowed for some interesting things in the show, I'm cool with that change. And like you said, there was another way for that. I mean, maybe a better writer than me, of course, can figure out another way, but I just don't see how. This was so impactful and important to have spores be here. So I really liked how they did it, especially, but how they did it was cool because we see that they're essentially a new type of infected. And it's a really unique way of doing it because spores in
Dude,
the
it's
show
like
universe,
breaks my heart seeing those people. Like it reminded me
Yep.
of like Davy Jones,
like Joshua is
the-
saying, right?
the Flying Dutchman and how the crew become part of the ship. Like it was,
Part of the
Right.
ship, part of the crew. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
And
And
that shit looks
I-
so
I-
good, man.
it did.
so it's
The
so
like
cool.
humidifier kind of effect of it. Like
Oh,
Yep, it is
awesome.
visually speaking, it is incredible. But
were
I
doing
love
fate.
how it calls back in the beginning of the episode to Leon. Could we see Leon? And
Yeah.
again, we don't know how long it's been, but it's funny because if any of you are Mortal Kombat fans, Tyler, I know you are. I don't know if you played the newer ones, but there is a great scene I love in Mortal Kombat where, and it's not unique to Mortal Kombat, of course, this line of dialogue I'm about to say has been in so many things, but Raiden, the god there's a god in Mortal Kombat named is Raiden. He's an elder god. He says there are some fates that are worse than death. And there's another god that he's killed, but gods can't die, and he just throws his head onto the ground. So essentially, this god must live now as a head, but since he doesn't have a vocal cord because he's just a head, he can't speak, he can't do anything. He's an eternal, but he's just a head, and that's like a fate worse than death.
Fuck
And-
Shinnok.
Fuck Shinnok, yeah. But I felt like that was this where it's a fate worse than death because. And, Leon made a very honorable sacrifice because we don't know how long this is again. It could have been could have been years. We don't know. But however long it's been, we have to remember infected people are not reanimated zombies in the Last of Us universe. They're not dead people. They're a person that has been infected. Their mind has been taken over. Their body has been taken over. So when we see here that these people are doomed to just be a vessel for the cordyceps to spread. It's brutal. It's so dark, and that I think is a fate worse than death, like Joshua was saying. So it's funny because I saw people say things like this, Joshua, where they were saying, "What if Ellie brings back the spores on her clothes and it infects Dina and Jesse and stuff like that?" So. Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. They don't ever really address that in the game, do they? Because it's just like, I can't get you infected, don't worry. And then they just never like, what about the clothes she's wearing? It's just like, nah.
Yeah. But I think that was just really interesting to see. And the way that they did it, I thought how right at they show up to the hospital or the basement part of the hospital where Nora's at the door, and then she Nora's like, "You stupid bitch, like you killed us both," and Ellie says, "Did I?" And I love that. It's a line not from the game, and it was really well done. And also, what's up, Justin? But that is really cool, just because she does in quick succession. Ellie does 3 little really cold line. She does, "Did I?" And then Dina says, "Don't you know what he did?" And Ellie says, "I don't care." And then Nora explains what she did, and Ellie says, "I know." So now we get a big reveal.
Mm-hmm.
We now know as show viewers that Ellie knows what happened at the hospital. How does she know? How much does she know? I imagine we'll see that next episode. But the thing that is interesting, and it's the only part, or one of 2 tiny parts that I don't really like in this sequence, is that, again, Nora says, she explains who Abby's father was and why she did this. And in the game, Ellie doesn't really ever find out. And in the show, it's revealed. I always wondered when I played the game, what does Ellie think? Because she knows in the game during this sequence, Nora says, "You're her." And Ellie says, "You Firefly?" And Nora says, "There are no Fireflies anymore." That's all she knows. She assumes, of course, that they're from the hospital, blah, 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 this would happen. But she doesn't exactly know why specifically, Because it's not just that Joel did this massacre. It's that Joel specifically killed Abby's father. And that's not revealed to Ellie ever in the game.
Yeah, she never knows, right?
Right, she never knows. And that's something that I thought was interesting that they added. And I wonder why. There's got to be a reason for that. So I don't hate it. It's just I'm interested to see why that they add that when it wasn't in the game. But then the part that I don't like a little bit about this is in the game, Nora She obviously, just like the show, she's very resistant to saying where Abby is. But Ellie says, "Where's Abby?" And in the show, it's just no. And you see, it's cool. You see that Nora is, she's not telling her anything. However, in the game, I think it's a bit better because the game, Nora says, "Why would I tell you anything? I'm dead anyway." And Ellie says, "Because I can make it quick, or I can make it a hell of a lot worse." And those lines aren't in the show. And then the line that I really like is when, again, it's the same effect, so it doesn't bother me because it's the same thing. But Nora says, "I'm not giving up my friend." And what I do all the time, I always pick like a key scene from the episode because I don't want to show my entire family my family the entire game. But I pick like a key scene from the episode, and then I say, "Let me show you how it was done in the game." So I did that with Joel's death. I did it with the dance scene. Now for this episode, I did it with Nora's torture. And I showed my family that, and all of them said, liked it in the show, game was better. And they liked how the way that there's more dialogue in the game, which is interesting to me how they cut dialogue in the show. You'd think they'd expand on it because they have done that before. In the scene when they're upstairs in the hospital, there actually is 1 or 2 extra lines in the show that they added. So it's interesting when I feel like the show normally does that. They expand a bit. And yet for her torture scene, there's less dialogue. So I wonder what the reasoning for that. And they didn't actually explain that in the podcast. And I haven't seen an interview about it. So I would like to see why they cut some dialogue. But it's not a big deal. Like I said, it accomplishes the same thing. And what I do like is, like Joel's death and torture, we actually see it instead of cutting to black. And Ellie does the same thing that Abby does, which is you don't go for the head. You go for their leg because you're not trying to kill them at the moment. You're trying to hurt them, which is sadistic because Abby was torturing Joel. And that's what Ellie's doing here. She's torturing Nora. That's what it is. It's torture, and that's not something that obviously we should be feeling very happy about, I guess, unless you're Austin. But it's a very, this is the point where when I had to press square in the game, I waited for a bit, and I was like, are they going to make me do this? Like, I don't, this is a little too far, Ellie. I don't know. So that's interesting. This is like the first time for me where I started to be like questioning Ellie. Are you going a little too far? That's where this started for me. And
I was so Abby needs to die, Nora needs to die, Owen needs to die.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. I was saying like, yeah, Nora needs to die, but Nora doesn't need to be tortured. That's where the line was drawn for me.
I don't know.
They tortured Joel. What are you talking about?
Yeah, bro. After that, it's like I'm gonna make sure they die painfully.
That's crazy,
yeah, man. They made me watch my papa.
Yeah, I had to watch that shit.
I get it.
This entire.
You see how I turn my lights, bro? I'm in it. Kill her. Save her every moment. She's already
entire
dying.
thing, man.
Spores, like.
Yeah. Everything looked incredible once they got down in there, and you got to see the people still being like alive, but also not, and just breathing the spores out. And it's just why I love zombie type stuff, because you get really cool visuals if it's done right. And then
my only critique is she only hit her twice.
Yeah, that's my only critique. Is it just
actually? I think she hit her 3 times because then there's a cut to black for the last one.
It didn't seem brutal enough yet. Maybe there'll be more. Maybe, like you said, there'll be more.
Yes, I'm sure we're all wondering about this scene that happens right after that.
I love the zoom in on Bella's face.
I know.
Just the deadpan look and just not giving a fuck.
It's weird because my brother really liked Bella Ramsey in season 1. And he's saying that he just doesn't feel that they're intimidating enough as Ellie to pull off a scene like this. But I disagree. I think that they did show that they're intimidating.
When they zoom right in on their face and you see
you know, the line,
Some
you
blood
know,
on that face.
the line,
I
where
hope
is
so.
she? And then, you know, it's hit her, and then, you know, screaming, where is she? And
Where is she?
yeah, it's
I
like
just
that.
need more. I needed to go back, and I need more pipe to ass. I
It's
just need
crazy.
more pipe
Yes.
to
That's crazy.
Bro, Dr. Forgon and I are. Wait, I
I
just
need
picked
more
up on
pipe
the
to ass and
innuendo. I'm always
screams,
like
bro.
a page.
You know? I didn't even catch that till you said it. God damn.
That's crazy.
Fucking
Oh
hell.
my god.
I think it's
But-
because Tyler laughed, and I was like, "Oh, dude."
It is what it is, bro.
We love pipe tags. But
Pipe
I
to
think
ass. I love pipe
yeah.
to ass. Bro.
but I think that it was the scene that I'm sure that we're all one, or a lot of people are wondering where it is. Again, I said this 3 times this episode now, but I'm gonna put on my Zeustradamus hat. It'll happen. I think it'll probably happen next week, but if it doesn't, it'll probably happen in the finale at the beginning, because that scene is
Thanks,
too
Gina.
that scene is too important, I think, to not have. So if I'm wrong, I'll come back here and I'll say I was wrong, but I don't think I am. We'll see. So
Yeah, outside of that,
that's
fantastic,
everything
fantastic.
except for the final scene, which but do you guys have anything to say about Nora? Nora scene, rather?
I'm just happy that they relatively kept it the exact same. Obviously, they changed some things, like you said, of the her revealing the stuff about Abby's father, but
Again, saying Abby's dad was shot in the head by Joel. We're like, yeah, we get it.
they've already made the choice from the beginning that we as audiences are
Mhm.
going to know that. So I guess that's the decision. Well, Ellie's going to know now too, which I'm sure it'll come into effect later, down the line. But yeah, just really good. Love the lighting.
Yeah, for sure.
Bella was really good in the scene, and I thought the actress that plays Nora was really really good too.
Yes, Tati
And
Gabrielle.
it's cool that obviously we've talked about it before. She's in the next Naughty Dog game. That's why she has the shaved head. That's the look that's how she looks in the game. That's she's working on right now.
And
so
also, she
really
was
cool.
also she played essentially who is Nadine Ross in the Uncharted 4 in the Uncharted movie, which is cool
that's
because
right.
the person who played Nadine Ross in Uncharted 4 is Laura Bailey, who plays
played
Abby. in
Abby.
The Last. So
Yeah.
the game. So Naughty Dog reusing their actors, I like it. They're very good. I do
Naughty
think
Dog MCU type shit.
I do think that seeing Nora seeing Ellie, the acting that Tati did was so well done. I loved how she's in disbelief, and then you see she's slowly, you're her. You see it. I felt like actually that part was done better than the game. Just that like specific her acting there, right there. And I like how in the
She had a
show
better reaction than Dina did too.
yeah. And I like how in the podcast Neil talks about, and Craig, how essentially the director went to Tati and said, the headspace that I want you to be in right now is that you're a Christian and you have just witnessed Jesus come to you actually in person.
What was I saying last week?
So
I literally compared Ellie's like immunity to
Right.
like the second.
that's why I wanted to bring that
Christ,
up,
like,
because I knew, yeah.
Bro, Stephen
So-
Williams, the director, bro.
Yeah. Bro is spitting. So
Oh,
I thought that was really,
You baited
really
me.
well done.
I took the bait. Reel me in.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But that was so good. I really enjoyed the second half of this episode. I'm sure, as we said, we all did. We'll just end it by saying we do see Joel again, and
Do you think it's a dream?
I can confidently say that it is not a dream. If you are one of the people who think that, I'm sorry.
Bro, watch it.
I
be
will
a
spoil
dream.
it for you. It's not a dream.
Watch it just completely go off the rails.
Yeah, the whole show up to this point was a dream, boys. But I don't know. Media literacy is dead.
Gotta
But
have me literacy, bro.
yeah, I will say though, when I saw Ellie wake up, because I was like, oh, were they going to do that scene that we were talking about before? And then I see that she's in her bed, and I'm like, oh no, that's what this is. And then just the hey kiddo, and I started to tear up. And I didn't think I would. I didn't think I would. Seeing Joel again in the show would make me feel like that, but it did. I teared up when I heard the hey kiddo and saw Joel. So I'm very excited for next week.
Yep.
The flashbacks are a lot of fun in the game. I hope it's not all flashbacks, because I do want some more time with, the characters in current timeline before the finale. And I don't think it will be. I'd be surprised if it's all flashbacks. It is an interesting choice to put all the flashbacks in one episode, because that means they'll be jumping around timelines a lot. So we'll see how that works.
Christopher Nolan directed.
So we'll see. But do you guys have anything else to say about the Joel scene or anything coming for next episodes? We know that, this is the first episode where we kind of could see, exactly what's happening now with the flashbacks. So if you guys have anything to say about that before we clock out, go ahead.
I just liked. Oh, sorry. What's that for again?
Just excited to see where they go with it.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, very excited to see where they go with it. I loved Bella Ramsey's little hi. It's just so endearing. And after
not the way that Ellie is now.
Exactly. You're spitting. I was just.
It just shows that Bella's range on how I predict that next week, everyone who says, "Oh, Bella's acting as Ellie," they're just doing it this specific way. I'm sure those people will never come around, because it's just in their head. It's how they are. But at least it will be shown that they play Ellie in a different way as in season 1 and when she's younger as to they do now. I think this episode especially, and next week being back to back, we'll see the crazy change from Ellie torturing Nora to Ellie, with Joel in between 1 and 2.
Definitely.
Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off though, Jacob. So
no, all good. I was just going to finish up by saying what you basically just said. The range that she has was great, and can't wait for next week. Hopefully, it'll be some good flashbacks.
I can't wait for next week. I think the flashbacks are some of the most wonderful parts of The Last of Us, and I think anybody watching the show that maybe is missing Joel a little bit, I think will be very, very happy next week.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be very special.
I do think
it's Neil Druckmann directing it too.
Yes,
oh, wow.
and writing as well. And Hallie Gross is also co-writing.
Maybe they won't beat us over the head with stupid bullshit again.
But I
no, I don't know. I don't think Neil understands his characters.
So there's a little bit of an argument that someone could make, which is maybe it's a bit too soon, because
that's what I'm feeling.
How
I really haven't missed Joel yet.
No,
but we'll see. I could watch the episode and be like, "Damn, I missed Joel."
I could also feel people. I've seen people say this about Left Behind, so I could see it happening as well, where they feel that because it's it's like, oh my god, this crazy stuff is happening, and now it's like the momentum is stopped to go for flashbacks. I could see that bothering some people, but maybe it'll hit them less than last season, because last season, it's not like Ellie died and then we were getting flashbacks from her. So Joel has been gone. So maybe people will be more receptive to seeing flashbacks, because it's a lot of Joel, of course. Yeah. But I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Overall, I liked it a lot. I'm glad that we got the brutal Ellie that we've all been hoping for.
Yeah.
And even though it's only essentially one episode and change left, I'm happy to see how. Yeah, it's a good show. It's a good show. It's a good
episode. Good show.
Yeah, but we'll see how.
Finally, a good episode.
Yeah, that's crazy. We'll see how Ellie is going forward. But thanks everybody for watching. As Austin says, time for Peak Door. Though not for me. I won't be watching until tomorrow. I gotta avoid
either.
spoilers.
Me either.
But Austin's crazy. Austin's gonna watch too many things all at once. But yeah,
Everything, everywhere, all at once, man.
There you go.
Great
There
movie.
you go.
That was a good movie.
Oh, was that a movie? I just
Yeah.
Coin
So-
that.
Same time next week. I actually, unfortunately, will not be able to catch The Last of Us live next week because I will be on my way back from ICCCon. So I'm gonna have to watch it Monday.
Fake.
Yeah. Honestly, I told my family, I'm like, when I get home, we'll just watch it, and they're like, it'll be around midnight, so no, we won't. And I'm like, well, fuck. That's the only bad thing about watching with people.
They
I mean,
gave
if
you
I
the
watch-
they gave you the fuck nah, bro.
Yeah,
Like we're
You're
watching it.
going to Titty Toy Con. Gonna miss The Last of Us, brother.
yeah. Maybe I'll
Damn,
just
that's crazy.
force Mr. Coffee to leave the con a little earlier so we can go.
Or watch it on the drive back, and then watch it with them and be like, "Oh, this happened! Oh no!"
Yeah, right.
But everyone should be here next week, and I won't be late for the show since we do it on Tuesday, of course. I'll just have to maybe get some new co-hosts because they hate Dina and they love torture, so it's crazy. But
I mean, who doesn't love a little torture,
someone clip that.
bro? You'll see.
Wait. All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye,
Have a
everyone.
good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Pipe to ass.
Endure and survive.